schools, eh? We are soldiers. The topic for today is youth. So we do not have an excuse of this session not being energetic and vibrant. Have we stretched? Okay, now when I ask how our morning is, you respond like people are having a good morning. And if you're not having a good morning, you can also tell us so that we know how to help you. Yes? Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, comrades.
Good morning.
Comrade power.
Power.
Comrade power.
Power.
Asanteni sana. Karibuni to our today's session. Yes, you can sit down. I am very excited for this session today. This whole week we have been having conversations about democracy. And today we want to hear very powerful stories from the youth and their journey into this democracy. And just also reviewing the status that is Kenya right now when we speak democracy. But before we do that, I am going to ask our band to come and set the mood for us. So karibuni sana Neuro to the stage. Please welcome them with a round of applause. We can do better.
Saseni, mko fiti? My name is Shazi. Guitarist anaitwa Tony. Tumebambika kuko hapa, mmebambika, si ndio? Mmebambika? Ukweli? God? Sawa, hii first song inaitwa ni basically about gender violence. Most of us wamekuwa na wale watu wako na vita, domestic violence, kupigana, and especially sahi wakati wa lockdown imezidi juu ya tushida kadhaa, hakuna unga, hakuna nini. So I hope you enjoy. Sawa sawa? Ama tuna otherwise lazima tutaenjoy.
Ni aje sasa inaitwa Edu. Tony on the guitar.
Pale nyumbani kwa jirani nikasikia kelele zisizoeleweka, nikasongea kusikia nielewe kinachoendelea. Mbona mke analia, wampiga bila huruma? Kumbe ni kawaida, tangu lockdown ni mazoea. Ujumbe mie nakupa, shoka lako la hangaika. Vita si suluhisho, msiba wako tagaramia. Ujumbe tena nakupa, itabia lazima ikomeshwe. Usipende vita rafiki, mapenzi mtunzie. 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 Ai, 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 ai. No, 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 no. La mara ni vita, kila mara ni matusi, vita imekuwa ni kawaida. Hatuwezi kuongea kubadilishana mawaidha. Mume wangu wapingwi, anajiona shujaa. hata ninaogopa sema yeye akosi vitisho. Imekuwa ni kawaida tangu lockdown, ni mazoea. Pesa pia natafuta na mapenzi nazidishia. Heshima mie nampa ila sikosi kilio. Na na na
pamoja.
Usipende vita rafiki, mapenzi mtunzie. Usipende vita rafiki, mapenzi mtunzie. Usipende vita rafiki, mapenzi mtunzie. Usipende vita rafiki, mapenzi mtunzie.
Chorus iko simple sana. Simple boy, simple chorus. Ni tu unaambia huyo msi.
Ndio manake.
Ati
usipende vita rafiki, mapenzi mtunzie.
Hivyo tu.
Usipende vita rafiki, mapenzi mtunzie.
Wasikii tena.
Usipende vita rafiki, mapenzi mtunzie.
Louder, louder, louder.
Usipende vita rafiki,
mapenzi mtunzie.
Tunapea moja.
Usipende vita rafiki, mapenzi mtunzie.
Nyinyi?
Usipende vita rafiki, mapenzi mtunzie.
We go. Nice.
Tawaba ya lollipop.
Usipende vita rafiki, mapenzi mtunzie. Usipende.
Sawa, tawaba ya time.
Mapenzi mtunzie. No, no, no.
Usipende vita rafiki, mapenzi mtunzie.
Tuendelee.
Usipende vita rafiki, mapenzi mtunzie.
Usipende vita rafiki, mapenzi mtunzie.
Usipende vita rafiki, mapenzi mtunzie.
Awesome.
So ukiwa home, alafu kwanza tukiwa mtaani, alafu cheki hapo hivi your neighbor ama your friend ameamua leo anataka kufunza na adabu. Si unajua kitu utamwambia?
Unasikia kelele hazieleweki. Ni vita. Kelele.
So the next song is about hope. Najua saizi manze kila mtu anaisikia, si ndio? You can feel the way things are tough. Ukitoka nje kila msee amekasirika. So
kusondimu.
Manze, we just want to tell you that kesho kila kitu itakuwa sawa. So this song, it's very simple. It's about you. It's about what you're feeling inside. Kesho itakuwa sawa. Ama ni aje, si ndio?
Nina tabu on my side in the story of my life. Niko kejani bila stima, kila wiki mama pima. Tabasamu nayo pia ilifichika, usoni misioni ndoto pia zilizimika. Don't judge my book, wesikiza story. Kinywa chungu kuongea, masaibu nayo ni kama moto, ila bado naificha. Don't judge my book, wesikiza story. Kinywa chungu kuongea, masaibu nayo ni kama moto, ila bado naificha. Kesho ya jana hairudi, nivumilie. Kesho minawe mpaka kifo. kesho ya jana hairudi, nivumilie kesho, minawe mpaka kifo.
Give it up for Shazi mwenye vocals.
Ngangana kutafuta riziki, hii mziki itanitoa kwenye dhiki, iwe daraja ya kuwabariki, bila hiyo siridhiki. Baba na mama na ahadi italipa, jukwani mashabiki washajipa. Baba na mama na ahadi italipa, jukwani mashabiki washajipa. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Kesho ya jana hairudi, nivumilie kesho, minawe mpaka kifo. Kesho ya jana hairudi, nivumilie kesho, minawe mpaka kifo. Kesho ya jana hairudi, nivumilie kesho, minawe mpaka kifo. Kesho ya jana hairudi, nivumilie kesho, minawe mpaka kifo.
Sawa, Ipad nataka mseme na mimi, sawa?
Aminia yako leo na bidii utafika, struggles utapata, yeah. Jipe muda yatakuisha. Aminia yako leo na bidii utafika.
Mbona hamna psych bana? Mmeambiwa saizi. Mtajibu leo, si ndio?
Aminia yako leo na bidii utafika, struggles utapata, jipe muda yatakuisha. Aminia yako leo na bidii utafika, struggles utapata, yeah. Jipe muda yatakuisha.
I can see people are ready now. The room is full, and now we are energized. Boni, I see you are in full attire. And when we're talking about youth and democracy, it would be a disservice if we started this session without wimbo wa mapambano. So for those who actually know the wimbo wa mapambano, Javan the poet, I see you in the house. I see you. Please come. Let's teach people wimbo wa mapambano, so that even as we are inviting them into this journey of democracy, they actually know what we are talking about. Rachael, ni nini unaniangusha hivyo leo? Unyamazangi, we know you're not this quiet. Please, can we can we do this? Yes. So wimbo wa mapambano is an anthem for most activists in Kenya, and whenever they start their day, they have to start with wimbo wa mapambano. I am going to ask us to all stand up so that we sing this anthem together. Abdi Kenya, I see you. Anthem Republic, I see you. Tupatie wimbo wa mapambano heshima ile inafaa. Okay, let's do this.
Your hands. Where are your hands? Feel your heartbeat. Iko wapi heart yako? Feel it, feel it, feel it. Sawa. Tuko tayari? Kupigwa na kupokonywa maisha
hakutatuzuia sisi wananchi kunyakua uhuru wetu na haki ya jasho letu, na haki ya jasho letu. Tumekataa kupiga magoti mbele ya hawa wauaji. Bila shaka sisi pia ni watu, hali ya utumwa tumeikataa, hali ya utumwa tumeikataa. Tutanyakua mashamba yetu, tupiganie uhuru wetu, tuikomboe elimu yetu, utamaduni na viwanda vyetu, utamaduni na viwanda vyetu. Sisi hatutaki kudhulumiwa, hatutaki tena mauaji. Hili kupe tuliangushe, haki na uhuru zichanue, haki na uhuru zichanue, na uhuru wetu wa Kenya, wa Kenya, uhuru wetu wa Kenya tupiganie.
Katiba yetu
wa Kenya, wa Kenya, katiba yetu wa Kenya tutekeleze.
Na vijana wetu
wa Kenya, wa Kenya, vijana wetu wa Kenya tuwatetee.
Oleyo, oleyo. Wa Kenya, wa Kenya,
wa mama wetu wa Kenya tuwatetee. Oleyo. Asanteni sana. That is actually a prayer that most of the youth you will find the youth singing this song. It is a prayer that reminds them that the struggle continues until we are a full democracy. And just to get us into that context of what the democracy is and what that journey has been and the people that come to mind when we talk about democracy in Africa, we're going to start this session with a set of questions. So I am going to ask that using our phones, we actually log into menti.com. It is, yes, go to www.menti.com. It is going to ask you for a code. Please use the code 696678 and answer those two questions that you find there. The first question is, who is the longest serving African president? Who is the longest serving African president? You have your choices there. Is it Yoweri Kaguta Museveni? Is it Paul Biya? Is it Jose Eduardo dos Santos? Is it Teodoro Obiang? And as you're answering your questions, I'm going to see how you're answering your questions on the screen. So please put your answers. Najua tuko wawili kwa hii room. Changamke, changamke. Who is the longest serving African president? Have we answered that? Ama bado tuna consult? Hapa hakuna Mwakenya. There's no Mwakenya here. There's no leakage. Pardon? The code. Can we have the code on the screen, please? Could you please have the code on the screen? So for those who did not get it, we're going to www.menti.com. Do you have that already? So is it Yoweri Kaguta Museveni? Is it Paul Biya? Is it Jose Eduardo dos Santos? Is it Teodoro Obiang? You're done? So I am trying to look at the Mentimeter to see what people are saying. I see a lot of people. And I hope we are not just, we're not, you know, in high school we used to do a lot of, you don't know the answer, so? How did you used to eliminate? Elimination method. So I hope that is not what we are doing. Oh, nasikia wengine wameanza maths. Okay. Please do the maths. This one's engaged science. Those ones have engaged maths. Yes. We should have asked people to carry their calculators, right? Do you have the Merimeter? Okay. So who's confident? Who wants to give me that answer? Who's confident in that in their answer? Uh-huh. Pardon? Please, Mama, tukusikie. You look like a soldier. Why are you so low? Ah, from which country? Watu wa Google? Uh-huh. Huh? Okay. So it is Equatorial Guinea. Ile iko karibu na Congo. Ama Equatorial Guinea ya Congo. See, you said Teodoro from Equatorial Guinea. Okay. Who else has a different answer? Paul Biya. Mwikali says Paul Biya from Cameroon. Teodoro has been in power for how long?
Kutoka 1979.
1979. And you're saying Paul Biya has been in power for how long?
Njoki, somebody is asking for the code for the menu.
Yes, we are trying to get the code. They are working on that. Mwikali, you were saying? Okay. Okay. Anyone with a different answer? Anyone with a... Namoya, yuko kwa hiyo choices? Sijamwona hapo. Anyone with a different answer? What is your answer? You look like ulikuwa chop before you came here. What is that answer? I see it. What? The same to him. What did he say? What did he say? Google Army, we are seeing you. What did he say? What did he say? Stella, what is the answer? Stella? You have no idea. Okay. Those ones who are asking for the code is 69, 66, 78. 69, 66, 78. All right. Do you have the Merrimeter? See how people answered. And when we ask these questions, don't go to Google. You know, I'm really seeing, this is how we learn. Eh? Don't go to Google. Mwikali, I'm seeing you. I am seeing. Yeah. All right, but that gentleman is actually correct. It is Teodoro from Equatorial Guinea. He got into power in 1979 through a coup. And it is very interesting that he ousted his uncle. So you can imagine, from that time, imekuwa ni family moja, what? It has been one family ruling that country. Watu haraka haraka mathematics since 1979 to 2020. What is that answer? For how long has he been in power? 41. Yes. How many of us are above 41 here? How many of us are above 41 here? So you can imagine what that actually means, that he's been president for as long as we have existed, you know? And one of the other interesting things is that Equatorial Guinea is a one-party state. Yes, in this day and age, it is actually a one-party state. And so I'm going to ask a question from this. We talk about the Pan-African dream. And where we are as Kenya, we see we've made strides in democracy. So if we are to have a Pan-African dream, how is it possible then to include people who are not on the same levels of democracy? How is it possible? And now I'm actually going to start going around and giving people mics so that this is actually a lively session. What does that mean for the Pan-African dream? That there are countries that right now have a one-party state, while others have really progressed in their democracies. What is your opinion on that? Can I please have the mic? Mic. Here.
My name is Mary-Liz Biwa, and first of all, I think there's a perspective of clusterfuckery to democracy, because we didn't sit as a continent to decide what works for us and what doesn't, we borrowed. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we are most if not all countries in Africa were colonized, and it's only okay that we transitioned from one thing to another. But have we dared to sit and take a deeper look at the issues that we face as a continent, and then to sit and redefine what democracy looks like for us? Because then we can sit here and say, is it okay for a country rather to not have multi-parties, for instance, but then also as a country like Kenya, we've been having multi-parties since 1992. What does that look like for us? It's in this time that we've had so many people dying through police brutality, for instance. It is within this time that we've had a constitution in 2010, but after having the constitution, then we are having a lot of injustices and human rights, being defiled literally by the same constitution that we really fought for and everything. So then for me, it's just about sitting and redefining, stop feeding into the clusterfuckery that is the democracy that we were fed into, and sat and defined and looked at our issues, defined the issues that we face, try to look for solutions, because it's a lie that Africa is not a continent that is full of people who have amazing brains, people who are doing amazing work. Day in, day out, we celebrate. Not only do we celebrate black kids across the world, we celebrate black African kids across the world doing amazing things. So then I feel like it's about time we stopped being scared. It's about time we stopped being fearful about calling the bullshit that is the Western countries, and to just sit and say our issues are this and this and this and that. How can we come up with those solutions? And then be a society that is also accepting of change, because I feel like one of the biggest detrimental thing we do over and over, I mean, when you look at our election processes and everything, is that Kenyans are scared of change. Kenyans will sit and say, I'll not vote for Mwikali because Mwikali is a pauper like me. I want to vote for someone who has money. But we've voted for Uhuru, we've seen what has been happening. In the middle of a pandemic, we're having the pandemic billionaires. What the fuck is that? Yeah. And so just sitting and thinking about all that, and then deciding we want this kind of leadership, we want to feed into democracy, because democracy is not bad. Same way, if it's dictatorship, it's not bad, because we also know we have different paths to dictatorship. If you find a good dictator who is bent on changing issues of the society, then that's a good leadership you can enjoy. So how can we explore both worlds? How can we explore all the worlds that are there really, and be able to bring the best for ourselves as a continent and do things for ourselves? Thank you.
You bring out two very important aspects. One, that the democracy that we have is not a democracy that we define for ourselves. So are we saying even countries that are boasting, the African countries that are boasting of democracy right now, are still not democratic?
They're still not very democratic, because one of the countries that has progressed in terms of democracy, for example, is South Africa, right? But South Africa still, until today, I'm a queer person, I'm a person in the LGBTQ community, but if you look at the rates of people being killed in a country that is allegedly democratic, as queer people, is very high. Not compared to Kenya. Kenya people get killed, right? But it's not like South Africa, which is allegedly a democratic country, a more freer country and all that. When we are speaking about democracy and freedom and everything, then we look at America. It's where we've experienced one of the biggest waves, the Black Lives Matter. It's where we've experienced trans men and women being killed every day like it's nothing and everything. So then, when you look at it like that, then you're asking, what does progress look like? Because does it look like wanting to be like the US? US is a fucked up country, but who tells you that? Nobody. Everyone paints it's a big country, it's a good country. If you go there, it's, everything of yours will change. But it's not true. We have to address those realities. We have to look at those things in reality, and then to address them, and then to come up with ways in which we protect each life as a Kenyan, as an African, as it should be. Because then our culture, our democracy as Africans, that is not the textbook democracy that was brought by our colonizers, is that Africa is a continent that is founded on love and people holding each other and people being there for each other and people just showing up for each other through and through. But does that reflect in the democracy that we embrace? It doesn't, because say when something bad is about to happen, you will see everyone for themselves. Nobody will look to see who needs help and I can help them so that I don't help myself but help each other,
Okay, thank you very much. Those are really deep thoughts and very awesome thoughts. And she mentioned something that is said in the African context so much. And I do not know how it makes sense, and I would want you guys to help me make sense of that statement. That there is good dictatorship. She said that. And I've heard it in so many forums, especially in the African context, that there is good dictatorship. Is this true? Is this true? I see people shaking their heads behind there. Could you please pass them the mic so that they can? And as we are passing the mic, I am going to ask us to please mask up. We are still very law-abiding people, and since we are live, we do not want trouble. So please mask up. And also ensure that there is social distancing. So is there good dictatorship? And what does that even mean?
Do I have to? I'm paranoid about Corona very seriously. Hi, how are you guys? My name is Nicola. I personally believe in dictatorship way more than I believe in democracy. Only because from the most minute things that we do in our day-to-day, dictatorship is what makes them run. When you're born, your mother dictates when you eat, when you bathe, when you jump. You understand what I'm saying? When you go to play, when you come back, it creates a system. When you get to school, you're told what time you're in school, what time you're out of school, what time you're breaking, what time there's lunch. It creates a system. If you give people the option to decide when they want to, when they don't want to, everyone would want to go at the time that best suits them, then you'd have a lot of disorganization. The only issue with Africa is we've not experienced a benevolent dictator. What we've had are dictators who are there for their own cause. We're in a country where we have to acknowledge that most of our voting is done based on who is giving you the most money. You understand? Yeah. We don't have enough civic education, so it is wrong for us to trust everyone to vote for a country knowing very well that they don't have enough civic education to make these decisions. Do you see space?
Yes, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so I personally think there has to be a level of dictatorship before we release people into democracy. You have to guide someone in a particular direction and teach them and inform them and show them everything, then give them out to the world, which is basically what our parents do. They have to raise us for a certain period before they release us to then make our decisions for ourselves.
What you're talking about is a functional and effective system. And does that equate to dictatorship?
For me, it does.
Okay.
Because if our parents from the word go tell us, here you are, you're a child, kindly decide for yourself whatever it is that you want.
But then dictatorship takes away choice.
I understand that. I understand that. But choice must also be given to those who are capable of making said choice.
So who's to make that decision for us and say, now you're of age and now you can have this choice? And what are the timelines? Because you're saying you have to be dictated for a while before you are given that choice. So what are the timelines? Who is to dictate?
The greatest example of democracy most times is the United States, even though they failed terribly. But what we must acknowledge was even for them in the beginning, they didn't have democracy. They got to a space of allowing democracy because they were dictated for. You understand what I mean? Okay. Someone dictated the pace at which industrialization was happening, the pace at which agriculture was happening. Then at a certain stage, they were able to move into democracy. Then now we use them as an example. Do you understand what I mean?
All right, thank you. Please hand over the mic to her. Let's hear her opinion.
Hi.
Hello.
My name is Wairimo. I'm Nicola's friend. Hi, Nicola. Anyway, so is there a good side of dictatorship? It's one of those things in Africa, before we were colonized, there were systems which were working. You get what I'm saying? So there was a government, there was chiefs, and there were people who were making decisions for the people.
Under whose mandate?
Under whose mandate?
Yes.
I don't think they were being voted in.
You don't have to
Very
be
few
voted
communities,
in, but under
very
whose
few
mandate?
communities were electing their leaders.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? And the system was working.
Okay.
I think if I'm to explain it again, it will just be what she said, but in
Okay.
other words. You
All
get
right.
what I'm saying?
All right.
So
I get.
yeah, there was a working system,
Okay.
and then colonization came, and then now, instead of working with what we had, we took up what our colonizers taught us, and what our colonizers taught us was, what's that word? Exploitation.
Okay. And it is actually very interesting what they say, because Equatorial Guinea's constitution actually gives immense powers to the president, where he has the powers to rule by decree, that he can actually wake up and, rule, and it becomes law. So are we saying this is okay? Who has a contrary opinion? What do you think? Are we saying that dictatorship at some point is actually okay, is good? Okay. Please stand and pick the mic.
Hello, my name is Mary. I don't think dictatorship is okay. Because for starters, if the person in power thinks about the people, we will say it's okay. But then what happens, one time, we have this president for 20 years who has our needs at heart, who is a dictator. Then after that, that session, another president comes in who has his own agendas, who rules whatever he wants.
Yeah.
If you oppose him, you die. Now we'll start complaining. But with democracy, it's about making it work. It's about, if this is a system, can they work? Can we make them work? Can we be disciplined enough to follow the rule of the land? If it's the president, what's your mandate? You as the citizen, are you taking part? Are you making the government accountable? Are you going for public speaking? What are you playing your role? That's how democracy is going to work.
Okay. She does not agree that dictatorship can be a good thing. And I want to ask a question using our context. The preamble. What is the first word in our preamble? What is the first word in our preamble in the Constitution of Kenya 2010? What is the first word? What is the first sentence? What pops? We the people. We the people. So when you say there's good dictatorship, what does that mean in the context of we the people?
I have the mic, and I mean, it's only fair.
Did you carry one from home?
No, I didn't. She brought it for me. We have benevolent dictators, and then we have malevolent dictators. Now, as a country that is democratic allegedly, what we've been experiencing since independence is malevolent dictatorship, because then. And I ask, because I know all of us here are young. I mean, nobody said there were 41 here, so pretty much all of us are young. In the voting process, was there a time if you voted, I've voted twice so far, if you voted, was there a time you felt like it mattered that you voted? Was there a time you felt like it mattered? You really wanted, because a good active citizen votes, right? But did you feel like it mattered? You felt like it's just your constitutional right, you go queue on a line for so long and then cast that vote, and then take that picture of that finger and brag, I've voted, and then it's just all fun and games, right? You never felt like you voted. And that's why, for me, democracy is not working.
Okay.
And in dictatorship as well, you have to know the leader doesn't pick himself and put himself there. While you have to look deeply into dictatorship. There's the power that is given to people to sit and decide. In this room, we are deciding Mwikali is our president. Then what we are doing with the constitution or whatever laws that guide us as a nation is that we are going to say Mwikali is the person we've chosen to install as our dictator, right? Because we've realized Mwikali has our interest at heart. And then we come up with guidelines that help Mwikali to exercise their power for the better of the country. Now, it's human nature to have a percentage of dictatorship in your life. That's why we champion for human rights, right? We all go to fight because if you had no right to decide what time you're gonna wake up in the morning, it's gonna be ugly, right? If everyone came, imagine in the morning, everyone is giving you a call, hi Mary Liz, time to wake up, hi Mary Liz, time to wake up. At some point I know I'll say, fuck you all. Yeah. I'll wake up when I want to. And that's how life runs. Human beings run like that. The idea here, because human beings, we are not an island, is finding those people who have our interest at heart. Yesterday I was listening to the conversation on live with Stella Nyanzi. That's why leadership is about what it is. It's not about like all of us being part of it. It's about us being part of it in a way that we see it in Mwikali. How can we support Mwikali to do the thing? And that's how dictatorship works. It works in such a way that we are seeing potential in the work that you do. We've experienced what you do, and we are saying, because you do what you do, we are giving you authority to be able to decide. That's how our country has been run. But because we were not keen to even look at the kind of democracy we experienced, then we ended up with, just a group of dictators who do whatever they feel with the country. And they're throwing away the country to the dogs. And is there anything we can do? No, because we're happy to say we're a democratic country, so yay.
So you're saying that we actually just go to vote for selfies. That is very sad. Yes. Njori, karibu sana.
Hi, everyone. I just want to challenge what she said, and I hear where she's coming from. And my response to the question of why does my vote make a difference? I'm wondering what difference we're looking to make, yeah? Is it a difference in a feeling that I have done my constitutional right, yay, and so walk away feeling like, yeah, mimi nimevote, ndio hiyo picha yangu, my photo and of myself on the line and voting, and my finger? Or what makes me wake up and go and vote is because I do want to make a difference. And the difference I make is the one that I am choosing to go and vote. And that is what my democratic right is, yeah? Whether my person becomes the one that is elected is not entirely up to me alone, but it is entirely up to me. But it is up to me also, collectively. And I've had people say there's no need of kutupa vote. Manze, unatupa tu vote ukivotia so and so, because they think it will not count. But my challenge to us is, why are we saying that? Wacha nitupe vote yangu? Because I am voting in somebody I have hope in, somebody who represents me, and somebody I believe is going to make a difference in my life. So our democratic right should be such that when we vote for people that we believe will bring the change that we want to see. Not that we'll win because of the many numbers. And that's just how I feel about why people should vote, and why people feel that it doesn't make a difference. I think it should matter, and you should go and vote for the person that you believe will represent you.
I have a question. Do you think our elections or our selections matter? Because there's been this conversation about the process being selective rather than being elective, that and the reason why we've had a lot of violence around election is because people feel like it's a sham. It is not it was not their choice. So do you think the process is selective or elective?
I think it's a bit of both, sadly.
Okay.
Because when we vote the people and we rally behind the people that we want to represent us, sometimes when we do really put our efforts behind them, they do get into office. But also, the higher you go, it is not up to us. It feels like, it will go the way it will go. There are people who control that, and it doesn't matter what we do at that point. But for me, I feel like we validate a system, and not the one that has been set out there, the system of democracy, by showing up, because eventually it will make a change. But if we give up now, then it will continue to be like that. At some point, we will have all the right leaders that we want in the right offices, and the right thing is going to be done. But if we give up, then we will continue having that selection for as long as we live.
Yeah. And I feel that is a very good place to get to our second question. So I'm still going to ask us to go through the same process that we went through, www.menti.com. Please project it for us. So the question is, which of the following African countries is the latest to remove their sitting president by a coup? Which of the following African countries is the latest to remove their sitting president by a coup? I hear people laughing, so I am guessing this is a very easy question. And you're wondering why I'm asking it. So please, let's just... nice, okay. That was fast. Yes, the answer is actually Mali. When did that happen? When did that happen? Who wants to tell us what happened? Where? When it happened? You know, the thing is, I think I know 3/4 of this room. So if you people do not volunteer, I'm actually going to volunteer you people. So please, when did this happen? And why did it happen? Javan the poet, educate us. Javan the poet, educate us. Hey, this one has all the answers. What? Please tell us.
Mimi ni Mali juu. Kuna from the point from kwenye mimi nilionea. Kuna vijana tu kaa sisi.
Ulionea wapi?
Community.
Okay.
Kuna so ili happen, kuna vijana tu kaa mimi tuseme, acha nichukulie for example, from nizaliwe till niko mkubwa sijaiona president mwingine wa hiyo country. So mavijana wakaamua ku stand up na wakaamua tu wenyewe jo I die.
Okay. Anyone else who wants to give us a story, an eyewitness account of what happened in Mali? Anyone else who wants to give? Yes, Wanja. Please use the microphone so that.
Thank you very much. I think what I observe, I think hii story ya kutoa au ma dictators siku hizi ni kama inakuwa citizen led, juu hata Zimbabwe kulikuwa na something like that. Alafu hakuna bloodshed.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much everyone. Nilikuwa tu nataka kucomment kusema history ya Mali na maybe hata Sudan, I think kulikuwa nayo na Zimbabwe as well. Nimenotice siku hizi ni kama hizo kuu they are not unajua kuuza kitambo they were synonymous to bloodshed. But siku hizi naona ni kama as much as wanatoa mtu kuna kapis fulani kako hapo, which I think is commendable, because unaona kama in Mali nilikuwa naona masoldiers na wananchi wana march wakicheka. Hakukuwa na venye kuuza kitambo zilikuwa zinaka lazima kuna watu watakufa. So I think that in itself inaonesha na they have gotten to a point where wanajua this is our enemy. So hakuna haja tuwe wananchi. Because even in Zimbabwe nakumbuka they were just marching towards the city. There was no like at real bloodshed. Of course kuna to vita. But that is just something I wanted to observe. And also to note that very young people were at the forefront. So that's all I can say.
How old was that guy?
25.
Yes, he was actually 25 years old. And you bring out a very interesting aspect that the coups that we are seeing most recently are not as bloody and war, because Kitambo, when we heard about coups, it meant, war, it meant very many people dying, it meant instability. But this is a second coup in Mali in the last 10 years. So what does that tell you? Yeah? And please stand up so that we can
Yeah,
see.
actually the Queen Mary is a very interesting one because the president wasn't there for so long.
Yeah.
He hasn't actually finished his second term. This was his second term. So the thing which happened, I think we have been following what is happening in the whole region of Sahel and all the Islamic movement happening, and it has really affected Mali so much. Now, the population are tired. For the fact that the president came to resolve a lot of issues, in his first term he didn't succeed. It seems like in his second term he hadn't really won these things which happened. Now, people were giving him time, but they have reached to a point like we can't accept him even to finish. We are just tired, there is nothing happening. Now, the issue again is that at a moment, the military is tired, the people are tired, everybody is tired. They just started running in the streets. Now, it comes now to the military to decide where are we? Are we with the citizens who are tired, or are we with this system of the president and other people? I think if people have been following on the net, we saw a lot of people, for example, running in the ministries, in the ministry's house, taking things who these ministers have taken in their home, things like that. So they have been there just to take everything they could take. These almost 7-8 years they have in power, they have been just stealing. So now, I think where we have reached is a time also where the military are starting to understand we are also part of the citizens.
Yeah, okay.
So the whole issue of fighting is no longer just of civilians, but it has gone also to the military have to say, where are we? I'm also a citizen and I'm affected, my family is affected with the situation and I need to stand up. I think that's what has been happening in Mali.
All right. Thank you very much, Suhail. And even as Suhail is waiting to get the mic, are we seeing the contradiction? In the first question, we said that there's good dictatorship. And now we are seeing that people are getting tired and they're having coups. Are we seeing the contradiction? So why are people having this unrest to a point where they're having these coups? Well,
I think, first of all, it's disingenuous to say that there's no violence once a coup happens.
Yeah.
We've seen what happened in Sudan when the military took over and women were being raped, people were being killed. There was massacres afterwards. The whole of August, I remember Sudan was, the rivers were filled with blood. So you can see people were dying. Also in Mali, people have been dying. There's violence happening, especially against women. But we live in such a patriarchal society, women aren't newsworthy. And children aren't newsworthy. It has to be a man dying so they make headlines. But particularly on the issue of coups is also, who do we see on the streets? Not that children and women have to be on the streets, but you see military men. If today, Kenya is going into a military, like some sort of de facto militarism state, police state, but if we look at Mali, for example, why does the military need 3 years for a transitional government? Why did Sudan need 4 years for an agent of the state to lead? So it's dictator to dictator. So when you look at coups, there's different perspectives we have to look at. If the police are taking over, first of all, the police is never your friend. Like, fuck the police, all cops are bastards and everything. But you can't assume that when the military takes over, it's in favor of the people. That's false. The police, in Mali, there's women who are being raped every day.
Yes.
And there's the military control. So there's nothing that's happening. It's going to be dictatorship after dictatorship after dictatorship. To speak truth to power in a coup is when the people come together and take the streets. So if today we look at people in this room, like half these people have been protesting all their lives, but they haven't been given their flowers till today. So, but when Raila says something like, we need to come together, he's like, oh wow, a freedom fighter. So you see, it's also very, as people ourselves, we've been indoctrinated to see that unless you have political airtime, you can make change, especially in revolutions of some sort. But to see what's happening in Mali, Sudan, DRC, Zimbabwe. All these things have happened, but there's no credible change that has been made. Yes. And I think it takes us back to the ideologies of capitalism. Will capitalism ever allow us to be free, even under colonial relics of this government we think we have? Going back to what Mary-Lee said is, democracy is a facade. We're still being led by a constitution. Recently, we were marking 10 years of Katiba. And there's nothing we were marking. The Katiba is just there to tick the box of democracy, but nothing is being implemented. And if you look at Kenya, it's a structure that's been borrowed too much from Britain. Looking at Britain, it was our colonial master. So even the police hasn't been restructured, there's been no reform. So I think for Kenya to thrive as a democracy, for Sudan, for Mali, for Zimbabwe, all these people to thrive as democracies after a revolution is to abolish all relics of colonialism and start off organically as a new state.
Very, very valid point. Anyone who wants to add anything onto that? So what we are seeing actually is coups are not the solution. Because if people are, going to the streets and taking over
they are the solution, not just military.
Coups are not the solution unless they are people-led. Yeah? I remember in Sudan, when they went to the streets and the military wanted to take over, they actually refused. Yes. And that is what happens most of the times, that even when coups are actually led by the people, at some point, they will be hijacked, And that tells, and it leaves a vacuum. And it is this vacuum that actually allows a lot of violence to take over. And it is this vacuum that allows those dictators to actually regroup and come in other phases. So I would want us to go to the next session. Okay, all right.
To say coups are not the solution is not necessarily a good point to leave the conversation from, because
coups are not a solution
unless
they're people-led.
But here's the thing, yeah? Most of the time, if it's not a people-led coup, it's a coup that is led against the people. So however you look at it, a coup is always a people-led thing. Either the dictators or whoever is in leadership is uncomfortable with the people and the noises they're making, which don't have to necessarily be a coup per se, but to just guard whatever it is, the authority, the powers, and the positions that they have, and to not allow anyone come into it.
Who are the people?
Essentially, the people are you and I, even the leaders are the people. But the reason there is the back and forth is because when we have a kind of leadership that doesn't feed into the the best needs of the people, which is them and us, but most essentially when these leaders have these ideologies that only feed into their own benefits and not the benefits of the people who are the people who define how the constitution is implemented and everything, then that's where the problem begins. So coups are very necessary. And when you ask me about Mali, the fact that we have had 2 coups in 10 years means people have the power to say we want you, but they also have the power to say we no longer want you. Yes. And I feel like that's a beautiful thing, because then, and also to say when coups happen, we are happy with them because there's no bloodshed. We also have to look at the gaps we have in Africa as a continent. Our media, what coverage does it do? Our media operates on brown envelope most of the time. So these people, a coup is happening, and a government that pays media houses to say, don't cover this. So nothing comes out, you do not know. But when you speak to people, the number of people you hear they have died, you'll be shocked at that. Yeah. And that's the thing about bad leadership, whether it's democratic, whether it's dictatorship. It's that if it's bad, the people it's the people who suffer and people die, and that's the thing.
So I want us to marinate into those 2 questions as we go into our next session. And we're going to go back, because in those 2 questions, we've seen a lot of contradictions, We're saying that it is okay to take away the choices of the people and to have dictatorship, but then we are saying it is okay for people to say that we don't want you anymore. So what are we saying? So as we marinate into that, I want us to go into the next session. I am going to ask Anthem to come and give us a piece. Anthem. To come and give us a piece before we get to hear great stories and journeys of youth in this room who've been in the front line the fight for democracy.
Yeah, thank you so much. Mko vipi? Mko vipi? How are you? People's power.
Our power.
People's power.
Our power.
No wonder country inafanywa hivi mambo. Kama tuko hapa kurepresent hivyo na ndio power mnaongelea. Naona kuna chida mahali. People's power. People's power. Yes, I go by the name Wawerwa Mudhoni. My stage name is Anthem Republic. I'm a spoken word artist and founder at Sanaa Center. Iko based Mathare, tunafanya art. Na mimi nataka kuwa remind, tunaongoja 2022 ndio tujue wewe ni Mkikuyu, wewe ni Mjaluo, lakini sasa tumetulia tu kimoja, si ndio? Cheni wakumbushe. The day. No, I mean the night. The night is morning. The sky is crying pain. Pain is my share. Fear is my heart, robbed by the death of my fellow citizens who are butchered, stoned, and slaughtered like animals. My heart chopped will never retreat because I try to fill it with lies, but it knows the truth, Mama. Mama, yes, I know you never raised the cow, but this real is so real to me, I can't handle it, see? You and I in the shoe of a street kid who is running up and down in the street, begging for food, and yet no one is showing concern, including you. Ni wewe wacha kukataa. Si ni wewe ulikataa babake na panga in the name of ni Mjaluo. Ni wewe ulipiga mamake na mawe to death ati juu ni Mkikuyu blood. Blood ilikuwa ina flow river Tana juu vile watu walikatana na mawe kupigana. Wengi saa hii ni viwete. Ako wapi mpenzi ulikuwa umeka pete? Uliza utembelewe na mashete. How does it feel to lose the love of your life? How does it feel to lose your mother, your father? How does it feel to lose a fellow patriotic citizen? How does that one feel like? Check you mtoto. Ulimbaptize ukamuita orphan. It is so right, yeah? Bravo. I hope walikukrown as the best murderer mwenye anaweza piga mtu na mawe to death. I hope walikukrown as the best kataman mwenye anaweza kataman na panga to death. I hope walikukrown as the best chomaman mwenye anaweza chomea watu nyumba wabaki homeless. I hope walikukrown as the best destroyer of our economy, Mr. Tribal. I hope so, because if not so, then you should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself, because you are a coward, a slave, a prisoner by choice. Your leaders are talking about vile watakatana nusu mkate. Naona shika jirani yako kichwa nusu mkate. Are you normal? Amani itapatikana lini? Amani itapatikana ile day utaacha kuweka food kwa fridge wengine wakilala njaa. Amani itapatikana ile day nitaacha kukuwa disqualified kupata kazi because of my second name. Amani itapatikana ile day promises za wabunge zitakuwa full, fields ziache kuitwa empty promises. Amani hiyo ndio day itapatikana. So peace. Anthem Republic. You know what it is.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that powerful piece. Anthem is one of those artists who actually have been able to speak his realities through his pieces. And every time he's telling his story, you can actually tell that it is a script that he has lived every single day. So we salute you, Anthem, and we ask that you never stop using your talent to actually bring out our realities. So right now, I want us to go into another powerful session where we actually get to hear stories, powerful stories of people who've been in this journey of democracy. And when we talk about democracy, what does this mean to them? What sacrifices have they had to make so that we, as a country, get here? I am going to ask Boni to please join me. I see he's in full gear. And so with the way you've dressed, you've already aroused our expectations. I hope hautatuangusha. But yes, karibu sana, please.
Thank you so much, Njoki. To the guests who are here, I can see a lot of comrades. Viva comrades, viva! Viva comrades, viva! Long live to the spirit of social justice, long live. Long live to the spirit of the struggle, long live. Down with police brutality, down. Down with impunity, down. Down with police impunity, down. My name is Boniface Ogutu Akach. I come from the lakeside city of Kisumu, which is on the western part of this country. I'm here to share my experience. I'm sure it might not be as colorful as my clothes are, or how you would expect it to be, but I really believe that what I will share will be a learning point for all of us and also help us in our struggle going forward. I don't know if I go on with the story. Okay. So, like I said, I come from the lakeside city of Kisumu, and my community, which is in Kondele, is a community that for a long time has been balkanized and profiled as violent and rioters. I know most of you, because I can see the audience is pretty young, I know most of you might be familiar with 2007, 2008 post-election violence, right? Some of us might be familiar with the 2017 post-election violence, right? But do you know that the people of Kisumu have suffered this kind of violence for more than half a century now? Do you know? For more than half a century now. And I'll give you a few instances so that you understand what I do. It's important to understand why I do it. The fight for independence. The political fights in Kenya, as from 1957 all the way to the early 60s, the KANU-KADU fight was violently fought in Kisumu. And actually it was widespread. It affected almost the entire Nyanza. In that fight, people still died, like we saw them die in 2007 and in 2017. The political situations that this country faced all ended in violent riots in Kisumu that resulted to destructions of property and lives. The political assassination of Pio Gama Pinto, Tom Mboya, J.M. Kariuki, Ouko, Mbai, Msando, and I could go on and on about even local leaders, Ofafa, Otieno Yo, Mito Jura, Ongili, Ambala. All these assassinations led to violent protests in Kisumu. In the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, and even in the year 2000. All the struggles that this country has faced still engage in this thing violently. My community has suffered violently because of this. We have seen families getting destroyed. We have seen properties we have seen families getting destroyed and properties also getting destroyed. I wanted to give an example of a case that I know most of you are familiar with, but not to the extent that I will say it. Wangapi walisikia case ya Baby Pendo? Yeah? So Baby Pendo was a 6-month-old child who was he was hit by a blunt object on the head. 6-month-old baby, for just being in the wrong place and also coming from a particular tribe. That was her mistake. Yakuwa na riot, hakukuwa na rusha mawe. And you know why this happened? because because she came from Kisumu. And I want to quote her mother's testimony. While she was in court, she was giving her testimony na alisema hivi, that when the police came, they broke the door na wakaingia. And then they hit baby Pendo on the head. The only thing baby Pendo did was alikuwa ameshikwa kwa mkono hivi, She held her mother's hand tighter and let go. Na povu ikaanza kutoka kwa mdomo. So when I heard this testimony, I got thinking. So this is a 6-month-old child who didn't know what was happening. And yet she was suffering for the brunt of some of our actions. And I got thinking that by the time our police walikuwa wanavunja hii mlango, wanagonga, kuna makelele nje, si tunajua venye kuna kuwaga na chaos. Baby Pendo alikuwa amebebwa tu. She didn't know what was happening, and she never even expected what was happening. Then the cops threw tear gas in their house. Baby Pendo saw the tear gas, akaanza kuivuta. I'm sure she was wondering, hey, kwani what's happening? Because she didn't understand the violence. Until it engulfed her, and the cops kicked open the door, and went for the father first. The father was trying to protect the family. So alikuwa amesimama na ameshikilia mlango. But the cops were powerful and they overwhelmed him. They beat him. His hands zilikuwa swollen, his entire body. Baby Pendo was seeing all this. And she was wondering what's happening. So why is my dad being beaten like this? Inside the comfort of our home. Cops wakamaliza na baba yake, then they came to the mother. And just like that, they hit Baby Pendo. I am 100% sure, that Baby Pendo never imagined that everything that was going on would result to her death. She never ever imagined, even at one point, even with the chaos. But then came the hit. After being hit on the head, I'm sure she knew that, sasa mimi yangu imeisha. And I always try to imagine what was Baby Pendo's last thoughts. We can never be sure, sindio? But I am sure that in her thoughts, alisema that, may her death be a lesson. May her death not go in vain. May it help us learn about expressing ourselves violently. May it also help us learn that we also need to check police conduct whenever they are doing these peacekeeping missions. I can go on and on about such experiences. I mean, zilianza half a century ago. Mi nimewapatia ya 2017. And in my work as a human rights defenders, we've recorded even more gory stories. These are the things that have kept me going. These are the reasons why I decided to become a revolutionary and do 2 things. 1, I want to break the cycle of violence in Kisumu. It's half a century now. I mean, all the instances that I was counting. Imagine Kisumu, hatujai enjoy 5 straight years in peace. If there was, the electoral cycle will disrupt the peace. And in all these instances, young people have always died, properties have always been destroyed. We have seen women being violated seriously. Baby Pendo is not the only child to die out of violent fracas. One time I was documenting, and there was a standard 6-year-old boy who was shot in the back. I mean, you could peep and still see the bullet. And alikuwa na wonder, what's this on my back? You know, I understand that even the pain. That is what we are always subjected to. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So what am I doing? In 2012, around October, there was a politician who was killed in Kisumu. he was a candidate vying for Kisumu Central seat. So watu walimtime tu akiwa njiani, and they shot him. Alikuwa na bibi yake, and killed him. So by then I was working as a writer. I was writing about non-violence and peacekeeping in Kisumu. So in our usual instincts, we rushed to the scene to go and document. So while we were documenting what was happening, the tension was building. So this incident happened at around 8 a.m. So tension ikabuild. By 10, crowds had gathered, and guys were talking about protest. That is very usual in my community. We are very easy to organize, and we're always ready. I followed the crowd to document. So they went to the police station, presented their petition, not petition, but grievances that they had to the senior officer. So as they were walking back to where the incident happened, police responded. I'm telling you, within 2 minutes, we had 10 people with bullet wounds. 10. Those chaos ran for the whole day. So you can imagine how many people were shot. On that day, I changed from being a writer to a rescuer. So on that day, mimi nilikuwa tuna rescue watu napeleka kwa hospitali. It never made a mark up to I think around 3 p.m. So I was coming from, the closest hospital there is Russia. So nikitoka Russia, tukienda tu kutoka nje, police had reinforced because the public was now overwhelming them. I mean, it was a whole day of running battle. So nikitoka tu hivi nje ya gate, they had reinforced, and I think there's a prison close by. So walikuwa wameita the prison warders, wenye walikuja na fujo. So they came, and luckily they stopped near where we were, so we ran back to the hospital. So the hospital had a small wall, so we could see what was going on the other side. For those of us who know Nyanza Hospital, right opposite it, there are some containers, some shops. So there's a container there, I still have the picture. It was a carpentry shop, and the owner was a very young man. So alikuwa amenunua viti, mbao rather, cushion, material, ready to make the seats, the furniture that he usually do. And then the chaos erupted on that day. So tukisimama tulikuwa tunawaona the other side. He had come to take care of his property. So unajua kawaida kukiwa na chaos, watu wanaweza loot, yeah? So as we stood watching and the police came, they ran into the container, and the police saw them. So I remember very well, one of the prison warders came, and containers zinakuwaga fabricated, unaingiza mkono unafungua. So he came, opened the hiyo yenye natumiwa ku block kwa kifuli, peeped inside, and I think he had movement. Then he started shouting, tokeni nje, watu wako hapa ndani. There was silence. Toka nje ama nipige tear gas. And he, just like he was saying, akachukua tear gas, akaweka kwa binduki yake, put it inside the container, poop, and shot, without any other warning. Akangoja, so we were seeing what's happening, because we knew there are people inside. So tukaanza kushindwa, hey, so what are they really going through inside there? He put another one, and shot inside. And a third one, and shot inside. You know a container, inaitagwa 20 feet, a very small one, 3 tear gas canisters. So sisi tumesimama ndani ya hospitali because I think they thought we were harmless, yeah? And then all of a sudden, we started seeing blue smoke. Tear gas is white smoke, Cynthia? So we started seeing blue smoke. And I think the officer also realized. So he tried calling his colleagues who are also already spread, but ni kama wako wanaweza sikia. Only one came, akajaribu kuingiza mkono, and I think it was hot. Then they called us from across the road because we were inside the compound. Tukakuja. I remember one of us took a cloth, akajifunga kwa mkono, and struggled with the door mpaka akafungua. 4 people came out. The first one was a woman. She had a child, I think about 4 months. 4 months old. People were even scared of touching her because skin ilikuwa imetoka yote. And she didn't even know which direction to follow. Tulikuwa tunamwambia pitia hapa, enda hivi. And then the third person came, the second person came. But then the lady had her child, 4 months old, also burnt, because fire ilipuka huko ndani from the tear gas. And some of us went in, and we found the 2 other people. The owner of the workshop, ye ni kama alienda kaingia chini because of the tear gas. But aliingia chini ya, you know, form ya mattress. Hizo ndio wanatengenezea viti. It fell on him. And I think your tear gas and everything, he couldn't see. 4 people were burnt. Yes, sasa hata uoga iliisha, so we carried him and took him to hospital. Yet tulimbeba tu literally, because he was badly burnt. I went home. I couldn't continue working. I mean, it was haunting enough. I was writing. So nilikuwa tumebeba karatasi na kalamu. How I wish I had a camera. Sasa ningekuwa tunawaonyesha if you are brave enough to see. The following day in the morning, I went to a friend and got a camera. I wanted to have these pictures so that I could share with other people. So I went, started moving around the areas I'd seen these things happening, nikipiga mapicha, until I reached the hospital. So I wanted to see the victims we had saved. I think we had saved about 50 people on that day with bullet wounds. Trust me, that's on the lower side. If we come to real facts of what comes after the riots in Kisumu, that was on the lower side. Wachana na ile inakuwaga reported kwa gazeti. When I went to hospital, I wanted specifically those who were burnt, because for me that was the story. Nikaambiwa hapana, walishapelekwa mochari. All of them. Now this is the kick why I decided to be a peace ambassador. Si nikaenda mochari. I wasn't brave enough then. Fortunately, nikapata some members of the family. There were some neighbors who were also working with the young man there, who were there when we were saving them, so they knew me. So wakati nilifika, nikawambia, hey, look, yesterday we had over 50 bullet wounds. But gazeti imetangaza ati ni watu 6 pekee wameshutiwa. That is what the media announced. So I told them, I'm sure the government would not want this to go out. So please allow me to just document. I'll pretend like I'm one of your family. Tuingie ndani, I have my camera. Nipige tu hizo picha, alafu tutoke. So we went in. So before we went in, I think the attendants had got an instruction that mtu asiingie kwa mochari, especially a journalist. So it was so restricted. So that's why I told them I wanted to pretend to be one of their families. Tukaingia ndani vizuri kama family. So where those people worked, we also have hearse was in a park hapo. Hizi za kubeba maiti, right? And so they work in close relationship with the mortuary. So for us, that team there was a bit preferred. So huyo mortuary attendant akakuja akatuambia, wewe, mimi nawakubalia nyinyi muingie, na mtu mwingine asiingie, na mtu asijue ati nimewakubalia muingie. So I agreed and we got in. Fortunately, alitupeleka tu, akatupeleka kwa where the 4 bodies were. They were still put together. The mother and her small child, huyo mtu mwenye the carpenter, and I think 2 other people who had sought refuge in there. So I had that small camera, if you know hizi camera ndogo ndogo. So nikaishika tu hivi na nikapiga. Unfortunately sikuwa nimetoa flash. So I think your flash ilipata attention ya mtu. And I had somebody ask from outside, ati kuna mtu anapiga picha hapa ndani. And you know, state ikishasema hizi vitu hazifai mtu ajulikane, the risk that I had put myself into. I mean, I was so afraid that I didn't even know what I was doing. So ule mtu wa mochari alikuja hapa akiliza, ati nani anapiga picha? Because he had already been told. So me I went and got into the next room. Ule mtu wa mochari akakuja akaniambia, nyinyi nimewakubalia muingie hapa na tokeni nje nyinyi wote. And they went out and they locked the door. I remained inside. So nilikuwa nimeingia kwa hiyo room na nika squat. Then now the environment ndikaanza ku kick in. Some bloody water, bodies all over. And I was checking. I saw, I don't know whether this was coincidence. I saw over 10 people that I had saved on that day, dead. And they had been brought to the mortuary. Young people who I even talked to as we were saving them. All they are lying on the floor. And some brevity just came in me. Nikaenda sasa nikaamua, si wameniwacha hapa peke yangu. Sasa wacha ni document hizi. I took the photos. Nikaenda huko kwa hiyo room pia wale walichomeka, took all those photos and I did a story. It's still online up to now. But when I went home, that story was not enough. That incident really haunted me because one, there was police use of excessive force on genuine protesters who had genuine grievances. That one is a fact. Two, we also had protesters who didn't know how to protest. Yeah? Those who would go to a protest and ensure that a coup is bloody. Those criminals who would want to take advantage of the situation, kuibia watu, kuloot property, gari kikuja inasimamishwa, wanaingia, wananyang'anya watu wallets. So, for me, I thought that then, let me be that intervention. The intervention that will make sure that one, the community in Kisumu still goes on to protest. Because protest is a right. Conflicts will always be there. We can't solve them at instance. They will always be there. But how do we air our grievances? I called my networks. 1 month later, we launched Sitarusha Mawe Tena Peace Campaign. Sitarusha Mawe is basically symbolic. Stone throwing is a common fighting tool in Kisumu, si ndio? Si tunajua Kisumu watu ni wakurusha mawe wakikasirika. That's no lie. But for us, mawe was symbolic to all the various forms of violence that people use when they're airing grievances, or even to control dissent, like it is very common with the ruling class. We continued with our peace-building activities. Election ikapita a bit peacefully. I know there were a lot of issues around the peaceful election. ICC still had a case against some of the leaders here. We had a new constitution and a new electoral body, so it was peaceful. But in 2017 was the kicker. So I didn't want to repeat the mistake that I did in 2012. So 2017, mi nilitoka full throttle to document. I had got a camera already and a laptop, and I had got a team to help me in the documentation. Unfortunately, I was brave enough to still do all these documentations, but it put me at risk to an extent that some of my colleagues in the human rights had to take me away on protection. But my main aim of documenting this was so that instead of me sharing stories like this, we could use other platforms like docufilms. I still have those, and that is what we will use. I could go on and on. Yes, but I don't want to go on. I hope one time I'll get an opportunity to share about the hunger strike, which was important. Otherwise, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Augustine, for allowing me to share my experience in this very important space. And to all the young people there, this is our time to rewrite the narrative of this country. Let us define what our struggle is, and we lead it. Long live to the spirit of social justice, long live.
Long live.
Viva, comrades, viva.
Viva. Before you go, Boni, are you angry?
I'm very angry.
So if you're angry and you said you wanted a revolution, but then you're speaking of non-violence, please explain.
So just like it had been cited here, and in a lot of other examples that I can give, non-violence is what is working now. And I'll give you a very close example of Sudan. Bashir was a dictator, and the situation in Sudan was even worse than what we are facing here. And people had tried using all tactics, but they failed until they adopted active non-violence. The state is prepared for violence, and the state has monopoly of violence. So they always prepared for us na matia gas, na marungu, but the moment you take an active non-violent form of airing grievance, it gets them confused. I witnessed that during hunger strike. Walishindwa hata venye wakuje mpaka nikamaliza na nikatoka mimi mwenyewe. So that is what I am sure of, that we must now start embracing active non-violence if we want to succeed. My community has been trying using violence since. Using violence. But what we've seen year in, year out, we have our forefathers who were killed. Tuko na mababa zetu wenye bado tunaona kaburi. Tuko na mabrothers zetu wenye tunaona kaburi. But we must now break this chain and not let it go to the next generation. That how pia watakuwa wanakaa wakitulia. Let us break that cycle of violence and adopt active non-violence.
You have spoken about profiling of your region. And even people make jokes and memes when they go around and they say, protest bila? Exactly, tear gas, protest, you know, and they say, haki yetu, protest haiwezi isha kama hatujapewa haki yetu, hatujapewa tear gas.
For me, I feel that is falling into the hands and the schemes of the state, that they want you to be violence, because that is whenever we have violence, issues normally change from the grievances that you had to now people focusing on the effects of the violent scenarios that have been there. Watu sahi watakuwa naangalia ni watu wangapi wamekufa, how many have been displaced, can we start a hospital? They now don't consider the reasons why you went on the street the first time. For me, I feel that is falling on the hands of the state. And it is not just about my community. I think this profiling is done to different regions. Yes. Here in Nairobi, I know for a fact that poverty has been criminalized. Sindio? Bora umesota na unatoka area fulani ya hii mtaa, the police will deal with you ruthlessly. If you go to Mombasa, young people there are profiled as sympathizers of terrorism. If you go to Northeastern, they are profiled as extremists and radicals. Ukienda Central, wanasema hao ni militia gangs. So that profiling is used by the state to divide you, the young people, to cover up police impunity. Mostly, to cover up police impunity that they normally use to silence dissent.
Unakulanga nini Boni? Kwa sababu umetuambia uliacha kazi. Na every time tukikuwa na huko hivyo kwa streets Kisumu, people say, huyo amelipwa na NGOs to actually go and demonstrate. So can you tell us, what do you eat? How do you meet? How do you pay your bills?
So professionally, I'm a photographer. I've also learned citizen journalism. So hiyo ndio mimi ukula. I sometimes write stories and take photos, but I volunteer this skill also to document human rights violations. For me, that is how I can give back with my talent. But yes, mimi nakula photography.
Oh, so you're on record saying that you're not a hired heckler.
No. I can't be. I even have a company. It's called, I have a company called Nile Village Photography that was registered in 2015.
Okay. So Boni is actually the coordinator of Kwendele Community Social Justice Center, and that has been his story. So I now want you to interact with that. Listening to that story of his region, the story about Baby Pendo and what we had, what does that do to you? Yes, I see a few hands. Who is going to help me with the microphone? We want the microphone because of... we do it for the likes, eh? So how many other people have questions for Boni? Okay. All right. Yes?
For me, it's just a concern
Okay.
from the story Boni ametupatia.
Mhm.
Na feel tuna blame government, tunakata ku blame Raila. Is the main, naweza kwambia ndo hiyo kwa kidonda. Yende hiyo kidonda.
Okay.
Na tusipoongelea leo kitu.
Yes.
Jo from 202 ni handshake tu. Ikifika 207 alinyimua kiti, tunapigana. Ni revolution tunatafuta ama ni kiti tunapatia mtu wetu?
Okay.
Ndio unapata Northeastern hakuna vita. Central unapata they have that ile ukora wanatumianga kuweka huo mtu wao ama hiyo deep state vile itakujia, but tunashinda tukiblame government. Tunasema na ni mtu mmoja. Ogutu wache kupigia huo mtu mmoja tuonekane tutakuwa tunapigana. Yeah.
Does he owe you anything?
I feel that from the Nyanza, there's that hiyo Kasumba, wanasema lazima mtu wetu akuwe hapo. Na unapata hizi vita zinatokeanga tu masaa mtu amenyimwa kura. Hizi siku zingine hautaipata mtu, labda Kondole hiyo Social Justice Center ndio inapigania mambo ya Article 43. But hizi siku zingine utapata Mbogio ya Kondele ama ya Migori iko kwa street ikisema tunataka maji. Tunapata ni mtu wetu lazima akae pale ama alibiwa kura. Na hiyo ndio kasumba tuko nayo. Tuache kufikiria about leadership. Let's think about growth ama development kwa hizi streets zetu. Hiyo ndio democracy tunataka. Hatutaki hizi siasa ya udikteta. Huo mjango ni dikteta. Acha tuelezane ukweli.
So what you're talking about is personality cultism, and you're saying all these violences actually have people that can squarely be blamed on. Okay, let us hear your question or comments.
Hello.
Hi. Please stand.
Sorry.
Please stand.
Mine is, it's like a two-part question. So I'm also from Kisumu, but my side is Nyalenda, which is also significantly violent, if we should call it that. My question is, how do you intend to go about looking for peace? Because aside from police brutality, we have to tackle police brutality. Then this profiling that we speak of, we must recognize that poverty is across all tribes. You understand? But the kind of violence that we face is not across all tribes. So we have to deal with it on two grounds. So even if we were to say we are going to have police reforms, we have the underlying issue of tribalism coming in with the next set of police that are coming. So how are we sure that we will be defended just in the same manner that everyone else will be defended? Do you follow my question? Yes. And also, I think even for us, we need to really, what is the word? Remove, should I say remove? Basically, we've had police brutality this year, and we've seen the uproar that has come as a result of police brutality this year. But the issue becomes when we have police brutality on poverty, on informal settlement, basically. However, every other election year, when every other side of the nation is at peace, yes? I've been there when we see trucks coming in with police sent out for us. You understand what I'm saying? So how then Are we really, really sure that when we're talking about police brutality and cancelling police impunity, that even we deep within are concerned about police brutality across, or just when it affects those who we feel? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, that's my question.
Yeah. Asante sana. Let's take the other question.
Thank you. My name is Collins. Yes, I'd like to respond to what my brother said here. And I think that is not a question of individuals, nor individuality. That if we remove such a person, then there will be peace in this sense. There's a challenge of democracy that if a majority of the people are not educated in democracy, they don't understand democracy, the democracy will not work. We have an instance in Kenya where almost 7%, only 7% at maximum, understand what democracy is, what governance is, how it should be run. So the remaining 93% is just operating on euphoria. If you speak to these people about democracy, you're talking of a foreign thing. They won't understand it. So unless a majority of the people understand what democracy is, how it's supposed to operate, we will not, realize the fruits of democracy that you're speaking about.
Right.
Yes, and if you take an instance of, let me say, like the Northern Frontier District, you remember when they were not being serviced like they were supposed to by the government. They spoke of secession as a people, right? We could not point, individuals in that, but a community that wanted their community to be served by the government like any other part of the Kenya, right? So if the people understand their issue, what they want, what is supposed to be done to them, what they can do to stop that which should not be done to them, not to be done, then we'll move forward. Otherwise, if only a few of us understand it, and then we expect everybody to understand it or to move forward with us. If we call a revolution in Kenya today, people will not come. Because only a few people understand what we need, what ought to be done, and that these things must change. A majority don't.
Okay.
And they'll continue going on euphoria.
All right.
Thank you.
Asante. So, Boni, how do, those two questions, how do we address police brutality? She's basically saying that we pick our battles. When it is us and police brutality, we're okay. But when it is the Luos of that region going through the police brutality, nobody speaks about it. So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, and unfortunately, that is the reality on the ground, in that people from my community have been led to speak for themselves. And we sometimes let that narrative of us being violent and rioters sell, and which is totally not true. To address police brutality, which I think my sister raised, my sister from Nyalenda, Niaje sister, we must have spaces in communities, and I think that is what the Social Justice Center concept is making work for our community. We have spaces within Kisumu, and we also have a Social Justice Center in Nyalenda that was just launched recently. These are spaces where we have members of the community who can come, because police brutality goes beyond elections in Kisumu. After elections, focus just shifts, people's lives go on, but for us as a community, we still see it every day. So we have established justice centers within Kisumu, I think about 6 right now, where we follow up these cases to ensure that we have justice. That's very important. About Raila and us fighting for Raila, one thing I have to admit is we have an ideological gap in Kisumu. We have let the politicians lead the ideologies for us to an extent that we have not been keen to sit down, pick the real issues, and start fighting for the issues rather than personalities. That one I agree, and I totally say, Raila benefits from the violence that we go through. That is no lie. Every time we suffer and we go through these tribulations, at the end of the day, he gets the fruit and tells us, nyi watu sasa nyamazeni. We now have healing, shida iko kwa BBI. So tukisha solve BBI, hatutakimbia tena. But already BBI, we are seeing violence coming already. Okay. We have seen the telltale signs. Lastly, I would just say, as young people, let's define our struggle. this generation of ours. The generation that fought for independence, fought for freedom, did their part, and they got it. The generation that fought for multi-party politics did their part, and they got it. The generation that fought for a new constitution did their part and got it. What is the struggle of our generation? Is to bring back power to the people. We have to lead that from the front. That is the ideology that we should sell, and nobody will start fighting for Raila ama sijui nani huyo.
All right, thank you. That's a very powerful message to actually get us to the next session. Thank you, Boni, so much for that story, and I hope we've gotten inspiration from that. I want us to take another set of questions. Again, I am sure Saib Shakoma Pro how to do this. Which of the following dates is celebrated as the Africa Youth Day? Ai, sai sisikia watu kucheka. Kwani kumendaje? Which of the following dates is celebrated as the Africa Youth Day? Is it 1st November? Is it 12th August? Is it 25th May? Is it 12th June? Is it 1st November? Is it 12th August? Is it 25th May? Is it 12th June? Tumesema hakuna kugoogle. I see you. Yeah, you can actually go back to your set. I know. I am wondering, kwani Google haiwapatii answer? This is how you cannot rig every time, eh? Kuna siku tu moja mtapatikana. So what is the answer? Is it 1st November? Is it 12th August? Is it 25th May? Is it 12th June? Sina nashindwa. Najua kwa nini haikuji. Kuna mbili zinatokea zinawachanganya sana. So, when they're Googling, they're not getting that answer. Who's gotten the answer and is confident about it? Who's gotten the answer? Okay, Nyi wote mmesema hivyo? Naona tu ni moja. Amjiamini? Hata chopi wetu? Hata chopi wetu ajui? Kuna wenye wanasema 1st November, kuna wenye wanasema 12th August. The answer is actually 1st November. Why is it that people waneka 12th August? Yes, but what is the question asking? So what is Africa Youth Day? Nani anajua? Nani amegoogle? Nani amegoogle? Let us nani amegoogle akapata answer? What is Africa? Oh, what should it be then? When you hear Africa Youth Day, what should it be then? Ajana nilek to Google inasema, what should it be then? When you hear Africa Youth Day, what should it be? Yes. Please stand and use the microphone.
So it should be a day celebrating the young people of Africa. And I think we make up majority of the young people in the world. So it should be a day to celebrate us.
Okay. Celebrate what exactly?
Our being, our presence.
Sisi tu,
Yeah,
tuko
sisi
tu.
tu.
Okay,
Yes.
that's nice. Anyone else who thinks they want to tell us what Africa Youth Day should mean? Javan, the poetry hiyo huwezi shindwa, hata ukishindwa hizo zingine huwezi shindwa.
I think Manze kwanza ukisema kushindwa, youths hatushindwangi.
Hatushindagwi.
So I think African Youth Day should be all about, one, embracing the youth space. Because as we know, most of our countries, and let me talk about Kenya, the biggest population is youths. But as it is seen in the spaces of governance, in the spaces of leadership, in the spaces of policy making, that is not the reflection. So for me, African Youth Day for Kenyan context should be to empower and have these youths fit in these spaces. Kama ni capacity wanakosa, then we make sure that over and over it is looked at and, you know, formulated for them. And generally for Africa also, that should be the same. Because even the youth-led spaces in the African context, bado hazina vijana. So then it means it's a sham, ni kitu tu inasemwa, but it's not replicated in reality.
All right. Okay. Asante. Okay, you also want to give it a try?
So mimi Kenya naweza penda kuongezea ni African youth, si youth wa kawaida, si ni wazee, ni hao wazee tu. Juu ukiangalia ati tu imeandikwa ati by 35 years. Wewe uko 20 unaambiwa ni mtoto mdogo sana, tulia.
Okay.
Unaona? Okay. As in hao ndo wanakulia na jina ya youth. Kwa hivyo ni kitu ni for the youth lakini si for the youth.
Okay.
Lakini
So it is actually a day set aside to promote the increased recognition of youth as key agents for social change, economic growth, and sustainable development in all areas of the African society. Do you see the responsibility that this day actually acknowledges that the youth have? When is it that when we talk about the youth, we have the context of economic growth? Sinafikirianga yetu ni, it's like economic growth is left for other people. When we talk about social change, it's like it's left for other people. But African Youth Day actually recognizes and places this acknowledgement on the youth that you are the drivers for social change, economic growth, and sustained development, you know, sustainable development. So si leo tumejua na si 1st November inakam. So this is a day that ndapigia wase wa Mukuru, ndapigia wase wa Korogocho, and I will be asking you, how are you commemorating and bringing this African Youth Day to life? Okay? Awesome. Let us go to the next question. What alias did Nelson Mandela use while pretending to be a caretaker at Lily's Leaf Farm in Johannesburg? What alias did Nelson Mandela use while pretending to be a caretaker at Lily's Leaf Farm in Johannesburg? Yani hata hamta attempt. Is it David Motsamai? Is it the Black Pimpernel? Is it Mark Radebe? Is it Rohil Hala Ntoko? Ni gani? Hapa sasa ni guess what kile? You're actually allowed to just pick a. Wow. That had to be the first one, eh? Najua ile elimination mnafanya, mna try kukumbuka zile click sounds za South Africa. Unataka kuona jina gani naka South Africa. So what is the answer? Anyone who wants to give it a go? Give it a try? Yes, Boni?
David
Motsamai. Okay. You say David Motsamai. Kuna mtu mwingine kuna another answer. Labda alisikia alikuwa anaitwa Kamau. Is there anyone with another answer? That is actually correct. He used the alias David Motsamai, where he actually worked under the pretense that he was a farmer. So Lily's Leaf Farm in Johannesburg was actually like a safe house for the ANC activists during that time. Right now it just exists as a museum, a historical site that actually tells the story of South Africa. So right now I want us to take a breather by inviting one of our artists, Malenga. Malenga 001. Malenga. That actually reminds me of a Swahili class. Yes? Malenga 001, come introduce us to the next session. And I'm going to ask our next panelists, Rachael and Halima, to actually prepare so that when Malenga actually comes and finishes, we just jump right into it. Malenga, is he here? Oh, awesome. I've seen him.
Waswahili wasema mtoto akikuchezea miguuni mwache, akikuchezea magotini mwache, lakini akikuchezea mapajani mshike, maana yaelekea pabaya. Waswahili hao wakasema mtoto akimwambia mtoto mambo ya kitoto, tunasema wanacheza. Mtoto akimwambia mtu mzima mambo ya kitoto, tunasema anakuwa. Lakini mtu mzima akimwambia mtu mzima mambo ya kitoto ni dharau. Mataji ninaovika wanawake wote hapa ndani, wanaume sina hakika niwaeke fungu gani, maana nimetatizika. Mume wa kweli ni nani? Nikiamua naweza wanaume niwatoe hapa, na hizo pesa tuliowatoza si shida, nitawalipa. Maana mmenikwaza na roho zenu za papa. Kama waweza mbaka mtoto wako mwenyewe, wewe ni sawa na paka, kunguru na hata mwewe. Na pindi tukikushika, hukumu yako ni mawe. Boni, uume sio kofia, ni hisia kutulia. Msaidie yatima kwa kumsafiania, sio taa kizima na wewe muingilia. Kisha hati akisema kifo unamtishia. Uume sio kamera. Hao wafanyaji kazi zao ni za nyumba, si kukupa kitulizi kama pipi wa mramba. Mwisho wake nkitanzi, ushampachika mimba. Uume sio miwani. Ni mtu mwenye imani. Ni mume umekamilika, toka nje katongoze. Sio kwenda kuwashika watoto waumize. Ni upumbavu hakika. Niacheni nitangaze. Uume sio manywele. We ni chui kitandani, nenda kalile na chui. Wako tele mbugani wala hatukusumbui. Mwangalie, chui gani? Wala lolote hujui. Sema nalo litulie hilo mbwa lako koko. Na nyama linunulie, usiibe ya wenzako. Na tena ulifungie kila sehemu uendako. Usisingizie uchu. Sote hapa tuko nao. Utamrambaje chuchu, mtoto wako, mwanao? Roho yako iko chachu na ngumu kushinda mbao. Uume sio urefu. Ninamuomba Wahabu, mume yoyote mhuni, kwa ukimu ya muadhibu na mtupe kaburini. Hata na mimi Rajabu, kwani nimezidi nini? Mwenyezi Mungu alipoamua kuwe na mwangaza, aliumba mwezi na jua. Mwenyezi Mungu alipoamua tule vitamu, aliumba tende na halua. Lakini Mwenyezi Mungu alipoamua tutunge mashairi, alimuomba Malenga 001.
Hey, so he deserves better than that, bana. Give him another round of applause. He deserves better than that. And I am sure Rachel is feeling like she's been properly introduced into the next session, because that topic clearly touches her heart. I am going to ask Rachel and Halima to please come forward so that we can get into the next session, where we actually get to know what their stories are and why that poem is very important to their hearts. Halima, karibu sana. Karibu. Karibuni sana. It is such a pleasure to actually have you, and I am going to give you the pleasure of actually introducing yourselves, because I might do an injustice if I tried to introduce you. So Rachel, tafadhali anza, tell us who you are and why especially the topic of democracy is very important to you.
Hi everyone. Hello.
Hello.
I'm Kochidi. So, my name is Rachael Mwikali. Proudly Madarian. Proudly unapologetically African feminist. I convene a grassroots social movement called Coalition for Grassroots Human Rights Defenders Kenya. It's a network of feminist activists, community organizers, and also activists in the informal settlements. So do I need to give titles? Okay. Because men give titles, let me give my titles. I'm a board member of Amnesty International, Kenya. I'm a board member of We Effects, and a board member of Young Women Leadership Institute, and the current chair of Human Rights Award, Kenya. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, karibu sana. Those are very heavy titles. Halima, tafadhali.
Hi everyone. I'm Halima Kahiya. I'm the station manager, Wajir Community Radio, a community radio station based in Wajir County. I'm journalist by professional, currently pursuing masters in public administration and policy. And I'm an activist in Wajir on gender equality. I'm also a mentor in all the schools in Wajir County. And currently I'm running an educational program on mentorship through Discovery Television called Learning Alliance. Thank you.
Karibu sana. I see you have joined us. Tafadhali take you. Yes.
Habari zenu. My name is Javan the poet. I'm a community activist and youth leader from Dandora. I'm part of the Justice Centers Working Group and also a leader of Arts for Social Justice. Nimekuwa nikiwork na different spaces in terms of empowering and just trying to nurture the creative space na vitu za democracy and social justice. So I'm very grateful to be part of this conversation. Na najua this is going to bear a lot of fruit because from where I was sitting to where I am now, there is so much energy. Thank you.
Awesome, karibu sana. And in just trying to share our stories, I am going to start with you, Rachael Mwikali, from that piece that Malenga's Rose just gave. You are what we call the radical feminists. So what is your opinion on that piece? And can you start your journey?
My journey, it's long.
Yes, please.
But I'll try to be direct and try to link with the thematic area. First, I congratulate for Siva. I was looking at this poster and it's kind of thrown me back to the things we have been doing, all of us. I don't know if all of you observe the posts and the messages that are there and the kind of struggles they represent. When I see the picture of our late comrade, Caroline Mwatha, and the kind of work she did for this country and what we are talking in terms of democracy, it kind of reminds me on the role women we have been playing in terms of democracy, but our stories have been erased. And even you could hear what Stella even said yesterday, in terms of the way we do a lot, but nobody wants to put our story in it. Like the fact, let's say, for example, I'm Mwikali or I'm a partner of someone, but people would rather take away my identity and say you're a partner of so-and-so than putting the Mwikali part of it, in terms of also now linking it with patriarchy. And then in terms of the role youth play, being also a youthful woman, because sometimes I think when you talk about the youth, we usually forget you also have youthful women like Mwikali, Njoki, Wanja. And the role most of us play even in defending democracy in this country, but also because of patriarchy even within the space. Because also when you talk about accountability, when also we are holding political power into account, also need to hold ourselves into account, even in the community we work with. So based on that piece, which is shairi, Kiswahili imenipita lakini nilikuwa najaribu. It was very powerful, but also in terms of, I really like the idea, it's a man holding fellow man into account. Because that's the also thing as women, and also as a feminist, I'm like, you know what, it's not our burden to hold men into account, but we'll continue holding you into account. But it's the role of also you men holding your fellow men into account who are violent to women, who are abusive to women. And also like coming back to it is the whole idea, which as a youthful person, we have done a lot for this country. By the way, jipigeni makofi. I don't like this idea whereby youth do a lot even in this country, but they're not given credit what we have done. But inakujanga to the point whereby you youth are letting the country down. You youth, but who are stealing are not youth. They They're old people. Why not hold the society at large into account instead of giving the whole burden to youth? Because if I can look in terms of democracy, I remember in 2014, how many of you knew the security bill for 2014? Wangapi walisikianga security bill? The security bill for 2014 was criminalizing even us activists in terms of our own right to protest, to assemble. It was, and I remember it was on 19th of December 2014, where a few of us activists, and this one have to be politically recognizing the women that were present. 4 women in a company of, I don't know how many comrades who are men. One, it's myself, Rachael Mwikali. Second is Halima Ferrari, who is the former Deputy Secretary General for Gor Mahia United. Fourth is Wilkie Sivana from Mathare, and Emily Kwamboka. Kama kuna wenye nimewasahau, if there's anyone that I've forgotten amongst the women, I apologize. We went on this street of this country with our comrades who are also arrested, Dr. Olalan Gesheke, also with Dr. Sidi and the rest. But when the point of us trying to defend the rights of Kenyans, the thing we saw on that road, by the way, I have a lot of respect to people who go to the streets. Njeri, a lot of respect. All the activists who go on the street, a lot of respect, because we risk our life. We risk our life in terms of someone can just remove their bullets and shoot you. We risk our life in terms of you'd never know unaenda ukirudi. But you're dying for this country in terms you want to see a different way of life where human rights is respected and people are respected. Things went tough that day, and that's why I usually say most of us activists, we are all mad in our own level. Because you are mad, we are yearning for freedom. Because we are not free as a country, we are not free as women. We are not free because you're going to be criminals and now you dress like me, the way people see me, pussy park, like, ndava. We are not free in terms of even of us who occupy different spaces. It doesn't have to be political spaces, but even spaces. And for us going there, and the way tear gas were being thrown, the way even police were abusing some of us women, it never reached to the news. It only reached a few of us that were arrested, our comrades. But look in terms of even when we went to seek refuge in a church, which is Holy Family, we're being thrown outside. But we're like, we're fighting for these Kenyans that we feel this is really matters to everybody. So you find there's a lot of price that we pay. Some of us have been beaten by police even in this street of Nairobi, trying to defend our fellow comrades, our fellow women, our fellow country. But also looking in terms of our democracy, people see it's expensive. Yes, it is expensive. And for me, reflecting with the word like youth stories and empowering to how we see things. Like even being here, I'm like, this is a political statement. Let me not talk on behalf of others, but we activists, what we do on behalf of this country, that we don't get appreciated, we don't get recognized, but also at the same time, personally recognizing the effort of people who invest on us. The people invest on you, Njoki, on you, Halima, on you, Javan, on Rachael Mwikali, because things get tougher. When the rubber hits the road, my friend, you pay a very dear price. You even lose your loved ones. You even lose the people around you. You even lose job opportunity because of this country. It reaches to a point even you feel, are you going mad or what's happening? Like even you fail to understand yourself. And coming to this point is whereby if you're talking about democracy, let's talk democracy that is very inclusive. Let's talk about democracy whereby as a country the way you hold activists into account, where you don't pay us tax. Hold your political leader into account. And never feel shy to hold them into account. And to a country whereby we are fighting for Article 4 of the Kenyan Constitution, a very progressive constitution. But still we are still in this country where even accessing clean water is a luxury. And with this pandemic of COVID-19, it has exposed, like this thing is not like they never existed, they existed, where women are abused, men are making, abusing young girls, getting them pregnant, defiling them, raping women, violating women. But now we try to think that this thing never exists. It exists and we've been fighting for it. But trying to ensure like we are holding different institutions into account, but collectively. Not as activists as Mwikali, not as Javan as you alone, but different people within the community, different institutions being held into account, seeing that if you're going to that drive of democracy, how does it look for us? And that's when you talk about democracy, you have to be clear. what does Halima democracy look in terms of your picture and in terms of where we have come? Because things are evolving. The way things used to be happening in the first liberation, second liberation, and now is not the way things are looked. And this one, I get it from our comrades who have come before us, the women comrades. The Mekatilili, if you read the story of Mekatilili Wamenza, Modoni Nyanjiro, like the kind of things they did. At least at that time, I think there was a strong support system. If you go to exile, people know, enyewe, familia yako nafai supportiwe. Enyewe, you need to have like things that can keep you going. Now things are evolving in a manner. Rechone ilikuwa na kwa TV, no jali parent. Landlord, you're talking about human rights, housing rights. Na mimi janilipa rent yangu. You're a celebrity and you're living in informal settlement. You see also like we need to talk about this point where whistleblowers who give a lot, but they are not celebrated. Please don't celebrate me when I die. Celebrate me when I'm alive. Please. Please. So we need to recognize that and the kind of energy and power women put into this struggle.
Right. Halima, Rachael says that to be an activist, you have to have a certain level of insanity. You have to be mad. Are you mad? And,
yes, to some extent.
Yeah, and given your context, where you come from, you have defied a lot to just be what you are today. So what does that mean for you?
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm mad, as she said. And my journey started a long time ago. I don't know who was born in the year 2000. Immediately after completion of high school, I was admitted to Muranga nursing for a nursing course, MTC Muranga. But I thought that was not enough. I thought being a nurse, I cannot fight for the right of my community. I underwent so many social injustices. I come from a county where our Gala massacre happened. I come from a county that was marginalized. Wajir was the location or the home to British Protectorate for Northern Kenya, NFD. They were based in Wajir. And through that, from 1960, our people were stereotyped as shifter. During the shifter war, still we are shifters. Come to clan clashes. I was admitted Form 1 to Garbatula High School, a national school in Northern Kenya, but I could not join because there was clan clashes. My clan was fighting with another clan, of which I don't know why they were fighting. So I could not join Form 1. So I lost it the first year. Then I decided, do you stay at home like this after all these clashes? Then I had to shift to Garissa. I went to Garissa, Neb Girls Secondary School, Form 1. So you can just imagine, by the time I was finishing Form 4, there was a lot of things that was happening in my mind. Insecurity, yes. Clan clashes, yes. Coming from a patriarchal society, yes. So what will you do? So I could not understand which career to take. Yes, I was the best. I was admitted to Muranga MTC. But still I thought going for a nursing is not a solution to my society. So one day, as I was just walking in town, Garissa, KBC van, like KBC van, zamani those years, 2000, they were doing announcement for Kenya Institute of Mass Communication, KIMC. They were looking for young girls who have just completed high school and they want to pursue journalism as a career. Then I thought, oh, so I can become also a journalist. Kama KBC gari mekuja Garissa. Then in the evening I went, should I go to Muranga? Should I go to KIMC? At night I said, let's fate decide. I slept. By the morning, as I was waking up, I have decided and made my mind that I'm going for journalism. Traveled to Nairobi for the first time in the year 2000, joined Kenya Institute of Mass Communication, became an activist when I was in college, still asking my community, why were you fighting when we were young? Why did the Wagala massacre happen? Because at the age of 4, is the time I saw a helicopter. And the helicopter came to pick my neighbor, an old man. And up to date, he never returned. We grew up with his children. We went primary with them. We went to high school. Up to date, they're yearning for their father's return. And then I was like, what happened? I could not even understand why he was took by the government. I could not understand why Wagala massacre took place, why we were fighting. So after completing Kenya Institute of Mass Communication, I stayed 1 year, Nairobi, doing journalism, different media houses as a producer, producing documentaries. I was editing for them. We just formed a small production house here at Koinange Street next to Tubman Road. So I thought I have to go back to Wajir. And I have to change the mind of our community. But I didn't know where will I get the funding to establish a media house in Wajir. Because coming fresh from the college, you don't have any funding. So all of a sudden, then fate came. World Bank wanted to build a community radio station in Wajir. One, why Wajir, 90% are illiterate, they are pastoralists, and World Bank was investing a lot in Wajir. But after doing analysis, the community did not know what World Bank was doing in Wajir. So they thought, what is the challenges? What is the problem? We are giving a lot of funding to Wajir. By then it was a district. That was 2009, before the new constitution. So the community said, for us, in terms of information, we are not following what is happening in national politics. The other thing, information, the mainstream media, the language they're using to broadcast is Swahili and English. Then my pastoralists who understand only Somali and Borana cannot even understand what the government is talking about, what donors are talking about. So the World Bank took the initiative, built the radio station. After that, they advertised they're looking for a local to manage the radio station. That is how I ended up in Wajir to fight all inequalities, all the challenges we are facing. Then we said, first, where do we start? Governance, democracy, human rights, gender equality. We had to program the whole radio station so that we inform and make an informed citizen of Wajir who understands what are all this democracy we are talking about, what are all these governance we are talking about, what is this constitution the Kenya is talking about. Then it came out clearly that Wajir Community Radio became the teacher. And they say, the teacher that accompanies. For us, the Nairobians, you watch your telly, you are not moving. But for our pastoralists, today to Nairobi, the following day to Kajiado, looking for pasture. But as they are moving, they have a teacher which is accompanying them. That is the radio, Wajir Community Radio. So they called us the teacher that accompanies. For us, it is very difficult now. I became now another target. A woman is leading a radio station. What is this? It has never happened. Who are you? It started again. We are in a patriarchal society. The staff now started again fighting. I was the only lady managing. I have another 7 men whom I was managing. It became another challenge. Today you program, someone will tell you, I'm not feeling well. What will happen? And you're supposed to go on air. So I had to fight, one internally, tell the journalist, my colleagues who are men, that one, you should understand that this is another 21st century. We are in a world where girls have been educated. It is not like before that you tell us, be in the kitchen, go and cook for us and stay at home. So later on, they felt, yes, there is a strong woman with us. Let's continue and build the radio. Because that was not my radio station. That was for the community. And we have seen the importance of the radio. One, democracy currently in the whole world the liberal democracy is being fought. There's a lot of threat. What of a pastoralist who doesn't have even the information of being of exercising his democratic right? 2013, we were in the studio educating the public on the rights of the citizen. Immediately after the first election, the new devolution, immediately we were attacked by county officials. Saa nne usiku. After we just completed the program, the guests have left. We called lawyers to explain the rights of citizens, what it means, how our pastoralists can participate in their democratic rights within Wajir. 2 police officers with guns locked the presenter in one room, the security in one room. Then they were told, don't call Halima. Can you give us all the audio you have been airing tonight? It will be taken to the governor. And it became a national issue. The only radio station in a remote area was attacked by county officials. The governor had to apologize through a national television. I don't know whether you saw it. Later on, the other challenges we are facing, as much as we are trying to educate the pastoralists, we border Somalia. Just 50 kilometers from Wajir, you have crossed. We are no longer safe. Okay. One of the night, just people in a hooded clothes came to the radio. But now, you know, the radio, it is in a very remote area. So there are not a lot of lights. They don't know where it is. So they came to the neighbors, where is this radio station? They were told, we don't know. Do you know someone by the name Halima? We have just heard it through the radio, so we don't know where she stays. Then it became another insecurity to us as our staff. Okay. Then come this year, I just immediately after leaving the office at around 1 p.m., someone just called. He got our contact from our website. Then he called, is this Wajir Community Radio? Yes. Are you Halima? Yes. How are you? Fine, thank you. Where is the radio based? I told him in Wajir. So after he talked in my mother tongue, our mother tongue, the Somali, we have different dialects. You can know a Kenyan Somali and Somalia from the other side, because the dialect, ours, is a mixture of Kiswahili. So ile wanasema Somali sijui. So that is how they usually call us. So after listening to the dialect, I was like, this is not a Wajirian. It must be someone else. So I asked him, yes, the radio is based in Wajir. What do you want? He told me, I want to visit the radio. Then I just interrogated him. It's like he doesn't know where Wajir Community Radio is, the directions. Then I became suspicious. So I told him, okay, you need to book an appointment before you go to the radio, and we have very high security in our radio. So you cannot just go and see any staff or neither visit the radio. Immediately I called the National Intelligence. I told them, please can you check where this number is currently? Because he told me one of the hotels. And even he doesn't know the hotel. So he was like, So I say, yes, if you don't know where you are, that means you are not someone who knows Wajir. Immediately, they checked the intelligence, and he was found. He was in Isli, Pangani.
Okay.
He was in Isli, Pangani. So it was like, this guy is in Pangani, Dominion Church, next to Dominion Church. I was told something like that. So I told them, yes, this person said this. And before the person called, 2 days prior, a standard 5 kid was kidnapped around 5 a.m. as he was going to the mosque, and he was told, please take us to where Wajir Community Radio is. So those are the threats we are undergoing, as much as we are trying to educate the public, because information is power, and an informed society is a developed society. So we have moved our people from darkness, but still there's another obstacle. Insecurity is with us, a society that is patriarchal. Okay. So even the police, now when it comes to police, sometimes you cannot even report. Okay. It becomes very challenging. In the year 2014, there was mass graves in Wajir. It was in all over news. We don't know what happened up to date. And we went there. We were the first people to visit the mass graves. And we were like, you just see clothes with bloods on top of trees. Then you will see several graves. There were almost 14, 15, we counted. Then hyenas were there all over. Because it is like last night, they fed on the corpses. Immediately we aired through the radio. The following day, also the intelligence came to the radio.
All right, so...
So you can just imagine working in such areas as much as you are becoming more proactive for democracy, but there are obstacles that is barring you to achieve your goals that you want to achieve.
And as I hear you speak about insecurity, I hear Javan's story, because you are using your voice to actually speak about these things, and these are the challenges that you find, and it is all the way in Wajir, but that is also your reality in Dandora.
First and foremost, I want to thank everybody that has been to this stage, because many times you think that your problems, your struggles are the biggest, are the worst, are the most painful. And you know, when I was sitting there and listening to Boniface, we've interacted. But I think the level of interaction that I experienced today through your story is very different, is very in-depth, is very, you know, the experience is something that I don't know how you stand it. And it's the same for every other person, how they stand it. And this brings me to the challenge that also human rights activists and human rights defenders face in terms of how you live your day to day after seeing this, after experiencing this, after, you know. And talking about security, mi natoka D. Dandora kwa superstar. Mtaya uko fulani Mau. And I've grown there most of my life. Unajua kutoka nikiwa mdogo mpaka hapa nimefika. Bado niko huko na sipangi ati kutoka pasi. Napanga kuchange your space. Ikue better, ikue that space that is admirable. But nikigrow, while growing up, I saw so many injustices. Injustices in terms of lack of employment, in terms of police brutality and all that. So it touched me because I felt like nimekuwa nikiluzwa wengi. I've been losing so many people, friends, non-friends, people related to my friends. Unajua, it might be somebody I know, but also it might be somebody related to somebody I know. So in one way or the other, it gets back to me. So we kept on talking. I kept on talking to my fellow youths. What change can we do? What can we do to change this space? Because Javan, I'm a Javan the poet, nikiwa mdogo, my biggest drive imekuwa in the artistic space, poetry and rap music, writing and writing. But it came a time I felt like, okay, I've been writing so much, but this stuff is not getting out there to the right people. Sawa, nimeandika kwa kitabu. I've not published at that particular time. So how will people then be able to relate or communicate to my experiences, my feelings, the being in the community that I am part of? Then I started to see, lazima ni perform. I must hit the stage, talk to a crowd of 10, 15, 20, 30 people. But it was not just talking, not performing, not just hitting the headlines, but talking the realities of my community. And my very first type of performance or song, and this is something that my close friends relate to me, and they're like, siku hizi uperform ile ngoma ulikuwa ukiita popo. Popo is a bird, a bat. And you know, its life is very abnormal to the normal life that we live. When I wrote that song, it was about the politicians, how they live their life, what they say and what they do. But that was not enough. I still felt like, say wanakufa sana. This is what I need to talk about first. So there's this one particular day I was in the matatu and I'm reading social media post kwa Hesi wa Dandora. And I'm like, hey, these pages usually used to post vijana, the police and the community perceived to be criminals. And it's like, we are warning you. In the next 2-3 days, we will deal with you. And over time, that warning has always turned to something. Somebody gets killed, somebody gets mob justice, and all that stuff. So nikakaa nikasema, kabla nifike mtaani, I'll write a piece. And that's when I wrote the piece called Killer Breed. For me, how the police and some of the community members' ways of eradicating the so-called criminal elements na crime was not the right way. Kushika kijana kumkimbiza, kumpiga mawe, na makarao kupigana marisasi daily was not making sense to me. Because I've also, and I'm still a leader in my community representing Embakasi North. So I know the challenges of these people from first-hand experience. Si kila mtu anaiba anataka kuiba. And some of them are also caught in a space that they didn't intend to be. And I'm not saying that criminal elements and crime does not exist. It exists. But what are the system? What systems are put there to deal with such elements clearly? So nikaandika Killer Breed. Now, when I was writing Killer Breed, I clearly said, wewe, na wewe, na wewe, na wewe si enforcer. Wewe ni killer breed. Wewe ni killer breed. Wewe ni killer breed. And to my astonishment, that particular piece nilipost kwa wall yangu. Hesi wa Dandora, Hesi wa Kayole, Hesi wa Mukuru, they have pages where they have where the Hesis are there to talk about how watu wanatakuwa, to share their areas wanatoka, to share their faces and all that. So when I wrote this piece, I posted it on my wall. And towards the end of the day, the post started to have weird interactions. It was, I've never ever seen Hesis get out of their pages to have a conversation outside their pages. But on this particular day, nikapata Hesis ndio wana comment, and I'm like, okay. So Hesi is like, manze kama una kazi ya kudu, kama ni ujinga, hii ni ujinga unafanya. And hata we si msanii. You're wasting your time, manze. You're just trying something that you don't know, like it's bullshit. And that was not only Hesi. So what he did, in every comment that he wrote, he tagged the other Hesis wa kutoka spaces zingine zote, and he's like, these are the people who are supporting criminals, these are the people harboring criminals, these are the criminals. And at that particular time, I was also part of Dandora Community Justice Center, which is under the Justice Center's working group, a pool of over 20 justice centers. So for me, it was a very big discussion, because I know and I knew the Hesis would talk to me, and also people within the space that I come from and people that share my experiences and struggles wataingia kwa hii conversation. And I thought this was gonna be the end. Itaishia tu hapa kwa Facebook. Nitukanwe, wasaingie kwa inbox yangu, waniambie tutakukujia, and that happened. I work late. I sit during my past days of kuhustle, bado na hustle. During my past days, kuna time nilipata kibarua. And I took it up, and because I wanted to make the most out of the 24 hours that I had, I chose not to do day shift, but rather to do night shift. So nikafanya night shifts for 3 years. And that changed my system so much. So mimi usiku maramob, usingizi inapotea. So in this particular day nimekaa saa 7 usiku. Phone iko hapo, kitabu iko hapo, strong tea iko hapo, my favorite iko hapo kando. So I'm writing. And now on a WhatsApp call, I was online. And kwa hiyo WhatsApp call photo ni government of Kenya. And I'm like, okay, government of Kenya. Who's this? I thought, because also through the conversation here, Facebook, I was already under threat and felt like something is not right. So I didn't answer. Akapiga tena, I didn't answer. Then when morning came, I thought to myself, I now have to kind of come up with a strategy to know who this is. Then I text kwa WhatsApp. Niliona umenitafuta usiku sana, who are you? And he's like, who are you? And I'm like, okay. Huyu ni nani? Because you call me, but you unakanika umejam na mimi tayari. And then akujibu. But when I went to the social platform, WhatsApp group ya mtaa, tuko na WhatsApp group yenye inakuanga na wase wote, viongozi wote, MCAs wote, kila mtu. Nikiangalia hivi, nikaona hii ni namba ya one of the policemen. So aliponiuliza who are you, na mimi nikasema okay, kama ujui, I'll share your number with some people wanisaidie kujua who are you. Umeona? And conversation ikakata hapo. But kesho yake, and this is in late after Sabasaba, a day after in 2018. So kila breed has been out there, nimejaribu kuiperform, nimejaribu kurecord ka short video, it's out there, everybody to see. Then siku moja niko kwangu, Sabasaba, I think it was on a Sunday. Nimekaa hivi, they knock on my door and they're like, tunatafuta Javan. Nikasikia huko kwa gate, tunatafuta Javan, and I'm like, huo ni nani anitafuta? So mimi sikuenda kufungua gate, somebody else akaenda akafungua gate. And gate ilipofunguliwa, the guys that came in were vigilante groups. Now, the vigilante were part of, were the key people who are killing the youths also, who are said to be criminals. After we did a lot of advocacy, the police now stopped to shoot anyhowly, because in Dandora manze, mwezi haingeisha na 4 youths dead. Like ilikuwa so 4 youths wangekufa every month. Manze hata hiyo ilikuwa kidogo. Kuna time siku moja watu walikufa 4. One particular day 4 wakakufa. So they are like, tunataka Javan. And msaka niambia Javan unatafutwa. Kabla nitoke niangalie walikuwa kwa hao. So there's this group of over 8 people wako kwa mlango, and they're like, when ndio Javan? Kuja. Tunaenda wapi? Kuja. And you know, because these are so many people, you have to get into the system of, first, what's happening, I can't struggle. So then I'm frog marched, nimebebwa zile, nikaa karao na nikaa kanjo, unajua, hizo zote ziko hapo ndani. Nikapelekwa kwa ofisi ya the vigilante groups. And they are there. Wewe ndo unaita askari kila breed, sisi tukiwawezi, wewe ndo unasema wezi wasiuliwe. So are you part of criminals? Are you one of them? And I'm like, no, but what you're doing is wrong. Because ask me, I can give you a story of over 15 youths wale hawana kazi, wale wako na issues za drug, wale wasewajua wafanye nini. Do you guys know that particular documentation? Because for you, mi waona tu msea akikuwa na ngori ndio mko na mapanga na mashoka na marungu kumalizia. How many youths will you finish before there's change? So nikiwa in that particular room, it came to me, my realization that somebody was working with these people, because they were like, sinyindo muli organize Sabasaba, siniwa uli post, na kwanza yo Sabasaba mna organize ita happen, na iliko isha happen. So then I knew, these people are not working alone. Somebody is feeding them information. And they said, at that particular time, nilikuwa nimefungua ka shop kadogo ka cyber ka movies, and they said, tutakuhamisha, tutachoma biashara yako. Nikasema okay, ikifika hapo hata mimi pia niko na jeshi, because I believe the community that I am part of is part of this conversation, and I'm not doing it alone. We are doing it as people. When I'm talking for these youth, I'm not talking alone, I'm talking for people. Kasema kama mbaya ni mbaya. So these people are out, wamenifrog match, wakanipeleka kwa shop, they want to burn the shop down. Immediately nikaita my youth man, nikamwambia kuna noma. Na wakasema, oh, sawa, leo katanuka. mchome na nyinyi tuwahamishe huku pia. Hii ofisi, and it's an ODM office. And this is something that we also need to talk about, where these cliques of people that are used by politicians during campaign periods, and after campaign, when they don't get whatever it is that they want, they are left out there to terrorize the communities without proper systems to govern them. Political offices are not to, of course we are people in the community, wenye tunafaa kujua communities are right, but who gives who the right to man people, to kill people, kushika watu, what are the extended? So hiyo siku nikashikwa, na nikiwa hapo wakaita mtu, wakasema kuja, uliibiwa siku fulani, bado una dent, ndo huu mwezi mmoja. So mimi niko hapo, I'm like, okay, leo ni ile siku. But I said, nikawauliza na nikauliza mse, unanijua? Sikujui. Nishai kuibia? Sijawahi kuibia. Hawa wanasema hivyo, mimi naweza waambia that I have something that I do, they know my shop, tuende hapo. If you're looking for criminals, there are ways to look for them, but not demonizing. And this is something that has been done for many other activists, where you come, you start to talk, you say what you're saying, and you're demonized, and you're made the enemy of the people. And to this conversation of democracy, to me, democracy is a space where youths have, and not only youths, everybody have conversation about what they think, what they feel, and what are the solutions to meet somewhere katikati. Without saying, Boni amesema na lazima ikue, Javan amesema na lazima ikue. And somebody told me something profound yesterday. Leadership and being a leader is not about kupendwa. Many times people get it wrong that, huyo apendwi. It's not about kupendwa, it's about what is right. What are the lines, what are the limits, what are the extents? Because if you're doing wrong, na kusema you're doing wrong is what will make me your enemy, but it's for the interest of the many, then that's the way to go.
Okay. And I can see Javan and all these stories have thrown us into a reflective mood. So we're not doing very well with time, so I'm going to ask us to prepare our questions as they do their last rounds, because I hear stories of people who've been in a journey to try and protect the civic space. I hear journeys of people who've gone through a lot of violations, but still keep at it. Why do you do what you do? And is there hope?
Yes, there's hope. And what is keeping us? Yes, we undergo a lot of challenges as an activist. Sometimes you just hit the wall, but you say, why come back? Go ahead, continue, be part of the struggle. If you don't struggle, then who else will come and struggle for you? So the struggle should continue, and what is keeping us as an activist is the appreciation by other people. As much as you are doing, yes, there's someone who's appreciating what you are doing. And if you are not there, then that means either that society could have been doomed, that society could have been in darkness, because in Wajir, we are depending on the diesel engine as a power supply. You can just imagine, an engine running since 1963. It was commissioned by His Excellency Daniel Arap Moi in 1963. Those engines are very old. We don't have power in Wajir. Every now and then, if someone who has my handbag can open my WhatsApp, KPLC customers, we decided to open an WhatsApp group for KPLC customers. And the cry that is coming from the customers, you can't imagine. It is only 3 hours we have power in a whole day, out of 24 hours. As a radio station, we struggled since 2010, the radio was established. You go off air when you don't have power. When you go off air, the first person that will be called will be Halima. Halima, leo hata hatuna habari ni nini inaendelea dunia. What will you do? Someone is appreciating what you are doing. But still, you have a lot of challenges. We decided now to look for donors. We started persuading with NGOs in Wajir. At least we got one solar. But still, the biggest challenge is our studio and the transmitter are 6 kilometers apart. The studio is based in the Wajir Airport runway. So our tower, the transmitter tower, is supposed to be 72 meters high. So we were told, after putting up a whole 72-meter high booster, we were told, please, this is dangerous to the airport. All the flights will be landing at your compound. So can you shift outside the town? We had to put it down, shift it to 6 kilometers. We got now support to power the transmitter. We got a solar from Mexico. But now the studio, when the power goes off, tunanyamaza tu hivyo. So what is keeping us as an activist is someone there is appreciating. Someone there feels that you have added value to their life. You have changed something. If it is not for our struggle, then it means Wajir people will not have been informed. Now, you'll just hear when someone calls the radio, ngamia tu uko unasikia kelele background. Then you feel very happy that, oh, yes, unasikia goat uko nyuma. Unasema, oh, at least I've achieved my objective to empower the pastoralist community with information. Information is flowing from morning. Kwanza hiyo ya good morning Wajir, very early in the morning, from 7 a.m. to 10. I'm telling you, that is, the whole people will be listening. What happened in the remote area of Wajir? How did they sleep? And you know, now, before the security thought Wajir Community Radio was a threat, now we became friends. We are feeding them with information because the community cannot share with KDF. We have so many camps in Wajir at the border. But in the community, the moment they give out information to the security apparatus, they will be told, first, you are the one to go in. You will be harassed. Extrajudicial killing again starts. Enforced disappearance inaanza hapo. So the only trust now they have between the government and the citizen is Wajir Community Radio. So first they will report to us that something is happening in certain location. One day, the extremists, they came to Wajir. They moved to the border. They crossed now to Wajir. Then just a caller called, you know, it was live on air. Someone just said, you know, we don't call them extremists or those, we shall call them madenge. Si mnajua ile miti ya madenge? So they don't understand the Kiswahili. So someone said madenge has just crossed. So we called the security. We told them, please, we have heard this morning, that location, there's a team. Security went there, but they could not penetrate. The team that crossed to Wajir was more sophisticated than our security officers. So they came back, they were scared, and later on, they attacked a village. People were killed. And you know, you feel so bad because the community shared an information with you. You passed the same information to the security, but the security could not do anything or take action because of lack of some things. So you feel very bad that you were aware some people crossed. Someone lost his brother, his relatives, his loved one, when you knew those who crossed. So for us, what is keeping us as an activist is that passion, and someone is really appreciating what we are doing.
So for you, it started as a passion, but now it has become a responsibility, because if tomorrow you don't do it, someone will wake you up and tell you, Halima, I do not know what is happening in Wajir. That is very powerful. Why do you still do what you do? Even when people tell you, unapiga wanaume, and they tell you, why do you still do what you do?
Wanaume tawapiga. Mpaka mwanze kubehave na to respect. Anyway, like the thing that I keep on doing what I do, like I said before, I think I've reached to that point, I don't want to be a victim. I want to be also like, Saki Woshe, you went through this, blah. That's why, like, if you see the way I started my story, I didn't start the story. Rachael Mwikali went to this relationship, she was abused, because even that time, there has been many consensual sex, most was rape or defilement, yeah? Needs of violence, because you know when you're a child, Si kama sahi ukinikatia najipa kujipa juu nataka. So you find like the things I went through at that moment, growing in Mathare, still living and being in this space where it was a man who was dominating me. And being a child, nobody was kind of challenging it. It was kind of normalized. And then seeing also like still communities normalizing, the country normalizing human rights violation, the country normalizing violation towards queer people, LGBTQ people, the country normalizing or the state normalizing criminalization of poverty. For me, it doesn't click. And that's why for me, I do what I do, because I'm like, if a woman or a girl or a human being is not free, I'm not free. That's why if you see, and this one I have to be clear, hapa tutagongana kidogo watu wa space, I have to be clear, when you are a woman human rights defender who is also a feminist, your vulnerability is more tougher than just anyone who is doing just human rights work. True or false? Because you come with this politics of ideology that you are challenging power directly, even challenging your own comrades directly, even challenging your family members. And spaces on how things are done and how things are done to this country. And it's going to reflect to me, and even like yesterday discussion, that our biology and our body functions works. If you look like your threat, Javan, and most of us that have been profiled in that group, for the women one, it goes even like, we are going to rape you, we are going to kill you, we are going to abuse you even physically, yeah? And then you find the way it comes even within your psychological part, and that's why like I'm very clear when it comes to psychological well-being of human rights defenders and women human rights defenders. Like, this violence and threats, it causes even to depression. Me, I've gone depression because of these issues. Like last year, I left this country very disappointed and very mad with this country. I was like, do I think if I want to come back to Kenya? Like, Kenya is not worth having me. But later when you sit down and reflect, you're like, I went through all this thing, I lost almost a year. But you feel, the point even like when Millie was speaking here yesterday, you resonate, you're like, even if people see that smile, napenda kusmile, but if people know the kind of scars, the kind of pain, the kind of sacrifice you have to pay for this democracy to work, they should be in the forefront and also doing the same thing you're doing. Like, it gets so tough when people ask you questions. Okay, I hope you are resting. You're like, I wish. If you're doing what I'm doing, I'll be resting. If all of us went to the street, or if all of us, even if you're not going, all of us to the street, support who goes to the street, it will be easy for most of us who are doing this work to continue. Because honestly, it reached a point, I'm giving up. I don't know about all of you. Me, it reached a point I was like, napigania na nini sijipigania. I don't know if it makes sense to most of you defenders. You're like, what am I fighting for? If for the people I'm fighting for, they can't be in support of the cause I'm doing. If the people I'm fighting for, they can't even say, we appreciate you, we celebrate you. Did it have to cost a Swedish organization to say, Rachael Mwikali, we appreciate the work you're doing by awarding me for people to see me as a human rights defender? Or did it have to cost for me, people are in power to say, we recognize you for me to be respected and valued? Well, sometimes that's where I think we go wrong. If you're an activist and you're not visible, people don't celebrate you. And also, like, that's why we need also to call in terms of the role media play. And it's important, it's important because, it's important because of also media play a critical role. If you look in terms of even COVID response, the people who have been in the forefront. And this one we can take to credit, activists have been in the forefront, and especially women activists. In ensuring community now have food, have the role that government should be playing with all the COVID fund. Activists fundraising community to have food, to have sanitary towels for the girls, even people who like their houses have been flooded to have place to go and live. And also like I have also to be into account the allyship and support. Njeri, Boni, and all the Kenyans that even came to support even my friends from back here and away. Swell, I really appreciate, because if you are not for all of you, we couldn't do what we did that the country is supposed to be doing. Okay. But also it comes back to a challenge, and this one also you have to be into account, in terms of philanthropic work. Because we realize when you're giving this food also, in terms of also like having a reflection as an activist and a feminist, it's good, it's not bad. But it takes away the people's power. Yeah. the people's power in terms of Article 43, holding government to account. Because people will come and knock at your door. Hakuna kitu noma kama if you're responding and living in the same community. Whether kuna kafi, hakuna kafi, unga. Da, 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 da. Even takes away your privacy. But you know why it matters. But at the same time, as we realize, we have to shift the way we organize. So when I give you those foods, yes, I'll not post it because of dignity issue or whatever. But we have to tell you, it takes away your power. Mbona hujapigia ule MCO muulize? Ulimchagua pesa ya COVID? Ama mbona ulizi? Hata gava, county government, mbona ikuletei food? This and this question. It's very uncomfortable, but I think as much as it's really tough, but it gives us an opportunity to organize. Young people, we can't give up with this country. We can't give up. And it doesn't have, and we need to acknowledge and allow that not all the time Mwikali have to be in the forefront. She has to be in the forefront, you have to be in the forefront, and allow each other to be leaders in our own capacities and rights. Tunaelewana? Tunaelewana, please. As much as we're on Twitter, traditional way of organizing is also important. Physical organizing is super important.
Okay. Javan, briefly, before we give people a chance to also interact and react, why do you do what you do, and is there hope?
Hello.
Yeah.
So why I do what I do and what keeps me going for me, one is fulfillment. Kuna zile vitu unafanya and you're like, this gives my life a meaning. Every day you see, and for example, a very good simple example, statistically, if you can all go and check at the rate of extrajudicial killing that was happening 1 or 2 years ago, and how it's happening, however much it's still happening now, there's a change. And that for me gives me fulfillment. Secondly, as an artist, we have been able to kuzaana, every day you see somebody else singing about what is right. And even in the stage, tuko na Anthem, tuko na MC Skuma, tuko na Faith, and many other artists who are picking this up as a conversation, to sing, to do poetry around this. It's not just dancing, but dancing to something that means a lot and means much. Mimi, being part of Arts for Social Justice, a pool of creatives from different spaces where we talk about ni aje utatumia graffiti yako, poetry yako, drama yako, kuchange, keeps me going. Every day nikiona msanii mwingine ana create a piece that talks about their issues in their different spaces, because mi nikitoka siezi ongelea issue ya Wajir as somebody from Wajir can. But if they can talk about it and creatively do it nicely, then that keeps me going. The other thing is, over time, I've come to realize that it's not only sisi tuko huku chini, even people that led the way, people that have been there still suffering. For example, in the creative space, there are policies and laws that govern creativity. Are they properly articulated and working? Where is the social security for artists? We've seen the likes of Congestina just languishing because the systems are not proper. And for me, that gives me even more urge, not to walk out of this conversation, but to be in this conversation so that 10, 20 years, another artist anasema, mi niliimba, but nimeretire. Artists don't retire. Sportsmen, most of them don't retire. Why? Because the systems are not proper. And systems are there, but it also laxity with people who are mandated to do that. And that gives me the meaning to keep doing this, to keep having this conversation, to keep having more and seek and partner with other people, to also empower the civic space. The greatest of all, and in this space, is that arts, creativity, and sport opens the shrinking space. Kama hatutamita hapa because tumeambiwa COVID, guidelines are not allowing us. Song itakuja mpaka huko malimuko.
Okay.
A piece will do. And that is opening the shrinking civic space for me. And those are some of the few things that keep me going.
Okay. I am feeling very inspired. And I know that is a feeling that is in the room. So I am going to allow for us to react and to maybe ask a question or comment or celebrate briefly before we, yes.
And I think maybe Njoki, because
Yes.
maybe we didn't have time to unpack a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
If you feel you want to ask any question,
Yes.
because also we want more of us to be in these spaces,
Yeah.
just ask. Nisikwambia ati iko, haiko. Tuambiane tu ukweli.
Yeah, I see a hand there. Oh, okay. So.
Hi guys.
Hello.
I think we as Africans, first and foremost, don't associate with being Africans. Because if you look at the white man and their plan to divide and conquer Africa, the first thing that they brought to us was
The Bible.
religion. Thank you. And for Muslims, I tend to feel for them, you know, because there's so much that has been taken away from women, and because of the religious status quo, it's, you know, it's really hard for them to do anything. A good example is, my Muslim friends always tell women, salimia wanaume, unajua. Then I asked, why do you always tell women that? And they are like, hautajizika, you know. And I came to realize that women don't have burial rights in the Muslim community. You cannot go and bury a fellow woman, you know. Women are the household leaders, you know. But when it comes to matters spiritual, I don't think a woman can lead prayers in the mosque, you know. And I tend to feel for them because the marginalization and being sidelined, you know. Why? Why does a woman lead a radio station, you know? Because in the Muslim community, women are not seen as leaders, you know. In the Christian side, stealing in the name of the Lord, you know, it's something that even the Jewish people used to do, you know. Tumeenda huko tumeransack watu, hii ni ya Mungu. You know. So I wonder when people complain when Ruto takes money to churches, you know, because it's been there. It's always been there throughout history, you know. When you look at the African community, in South Africa, most of the Sangomas are women, yes? If you come to the Kamba community, Andoi, you know, Mundomwe, most of them were women, you know. My great-great-grandmother was one of them. She used to play a drum and walk on top of fire. Okay. You know, she was untouchable. And the stories I hear from my uncles and my grandparents, I wish I met that woman. Okay. Not only that, matters of governance, you know, because we as Africans, people had a lot of care, you know, even killing animals as Africans. You had to say a prayer, talk to the animal, ask nature for its blessings to slaughter this animal, you know. But nowadays, animals, people, there's no difference, you know.
Okay.
And one last thing before I finish, when we talk about extrajudicial killings, I come from Ziwani, and it's really close to Isili. And one of the cops who shot young men kwa street, you know, they back it up with religion. Ata Bible inasema, you know, Jamaa, he's a messenger of the Lord. Do you think he bears the sword in vain? He will cut you down, you know. Even family members go to an extent and say, kijana tumempatiana hiyo, dini na tukubali, akitushinda, you know. If you are a Muslim and you try to convert to Christianity, Islam gives them an option to kill you. Okay. And when we step up to the state like ni Sharia law. Ni our Islamu. Acha wa deal nayo. So I think we as Africans need to discard a lot of white mentality and white cultures and white traditions for us to embrace who we are and move in a direction that will empower us and give us what we need.
All right.
Thank you.
I see a challenge there that you're posing to us. I see hands there. Please let's make our questions a little bit brief. We are really short on time.
Thank you very much. There is a problem. And this problem is not anywhere. This problem is in this hall today. Hello? We must restrain our government. That's the real thing that's happening. Because I also come from the sides of the small coast of Kenya called Kisumu. And in my younger days, I would have been more prescriptive. But when I grow up, I realize I don't have the monopoly of wisdom and knowledge to advise. Hello? Hello. Because since I received a call from Grace that we have this seminar here today, I decided to assume that I did not go to school. I went back to my dictionary and looked deeply into the meaning of democracy.
Yes.
I found there is something wrong, and whatever is wrong is with me and you, who is perceived and called a youth who is under the age of 35 years. Hello?
Yes.
It is the rule of the people, by the people, and with the people. Another definition is it is the freedom to choose and associate. Do we choose? Sometimes back, the last meeting of Siasa Place I was in around opposite Afya Center. And I said one thing about African nations. We don't lose elections. Our elections are always stolen. When I lose, my elections were stolen. When you win, you stole my elections, yeah?
Okay.
Do we choose in Africa? Do we choose in Kenya? Do our leaders sell ideologies? I believe and I'm firm when I'm given platform with any other politician in Kenya to sell ideologies, and we are sponsored with equal amount of money, I'll win in the next morning.
Awesome. Okay.
Because our people, our politicians sell money. When you go to Luola, and my sister comes from there, people will come and say, Tibim, Tialala. I always misunderstand whatever they mean. I ask myself, are these really policies?
Okay.
Do these things give us food on the table at the end of the day? No. I ask and I answer, no. The problem is with us here today.
Okay.
This is my second meeting with the Siasa Place. And I want to be very, very vigilant about what I'm saying. And I want to be very, very different from other people. Because I was here, I went away with 0 contacts of any youth from this place.
Okay.
I went away with 0 face that I can remember of any youth from this place. And today, if you're not very careful, I'm going again the same.
Okay. Maybe I can pose a challenge to you that if you actually leave this room without a contact or a lesson, then we need to call you kwa karum kando.
That's what I wanted, call me.
Yeah.
So, another thing, I've had the introductions from these good people. Since this man in maroon called, Brior,
Boniface.
he inspired me so much.
Yes.
And just to be truthful, personally, I have a friend here. We share everything from local, I don't know what, administration, everything we share, up to Nairobi, this level.
Okay.
This guy is seated in my front.
All right.
We have a CBO at home.
Okay.
And
Maybe
I love the word that sister talked about. A very strong word. Philanthropic actions.
Yes.
Are you philanthropist? If you are not, don't force yourself. You can't be one.
Okay, asante sana.
It comes during birth. Just accord me like 2 minutes, please.
No, we do not have 2 minutes, please.
Kindly.
We have so many hands. So
I know we have them.
Yes, I'm going to ask. We actually have a session up there for lunch and snacks.
Okay.
So we can exchange on that. But I am please asking that we are really, really bad on time. So please just give everyone a chance to ask
Mine was
questions.
congratulations.
Yes,
I congratulate you, gentlemen, and maybe ladies. I love what you are doing. God bless you.
Wait, what do you mean maybe? Is there, in this time and age and when we're talking about democracy, I do not think you are actually supposed to say maybe ladies, okay? So I see another hand. Please make it very, very brief.
Thank you. I'm Rajab Salim. I have a question for my sister Halima. This is in regards to what a friend has just spoken, Nadhani ametoka, but he's spoken on how Islam marginalizes women, and I think kuna facts we're not getting right, cultural beliefs na religious beliefs. So my question to Halima, kindly tueleze ni vipi dini yako imekusaidia to be who you are today, because I believe you are a heroine, you're doing great things. So kindly tueleze ili pia to bust some myths and misconceptions.
All right, asante. Okay, I am going to take this and this and this. Oh, and that one. And please make it very, very short because we don't have that time.
So hi guys. So first of all, it's to congratulate you guys for the work you're doing. And it's very, I don't know how to explain it. It takes a lot of courage to do what you guys are doing. And probably my question is, I don't know, nyinyi wote mnaweza reflect. So sisi wote hapa kwa hii space, we are young people, right? But have we ever taken an initiative to do any gaps gani tuko nazo first of all? What are the missing links? And what is our role as young people when it comes to defending democracy? What are we doing? Second question, maybe these are directed to anaitwaje? Mwikali.
Okay.
So in the feminist perspective, sisi kama young people, I'm also a feminist. But what are we doing to unpack the feminism? Because utapata, yes, kuna dem anataka kujoin feminism, na kunapata kuna wengine wanapiga wanaume huko Twitter, for example, the likes of Alco. Siku hizi anaitwa the boy child defender. And ukisikia venye like anaway feminism, it doesn't add up to anything.
All right.
So she's thriving on cheap feminism.
Okay.
So what do we have to do when we want to kuleta madem kwa hii space ya feminism? And how are we unpacking it for the community to take it up?
All right. Asante sana. Pesh, I know you're a very brief person, so I have confidence in you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much, and I'm so glad that I'm associated to such great comrades of mine. I'll give an example. I come from Kayole, and when we started our community justice center, Kayole Community Justice Center, there was this normalization of youth being killed. And nobody was talking about it, including the victims of this family. So apparently, we came up as 6 women. And because we had seen this being a trend of men being killed, youths, and they're being criminalized, that maybe, or someone say, I saw him or her doing some evil stealing. And I'm so glad that the community now are informed through us that it's not normal for youth being killed just because they're thieves or someone snatched, because our leaders steal every day, right? Yeah. But they are being carried with dignity. Why can't we also put this dignity in our informal settlements? Okay. The other day, Githurai demonstrated, and we were discussing it with Njoki yesterday. Apparently, they said that Njoki were demonstrating because their leader was killed, you see? So we need to, like, us as the Social Justice Center and also as human rights defenders, we need to put it clear in our community, because it all starts by empowering the community with information so that they can change their mindset, you see? Okay. So, that's my point.
Oh,
good in talking.
Asante sana. Sihel to okay, Suhail.
Mine isn't actually long, but
Yeah.
it's just a response to what the gentleman spoke about on Islam. I think just quickly a crash course on, I think this is a space of official discourse. So what we speak about here goes back into our communities. Yes. We need to understand what Islam is. For the longest time, the West has portrayed Islam as the biggest group organizing as terrorism. So I do understand he's coming from a good place, but sympathizing and empowerment in Islam in most times comes from rootings of Islamophobia and oppression. So in most times we also need to look at the difference, what Islam really is theologically and from a Muslim-based perspective, and then what Islam is from the Orientalism perspective and what the West decries it as is. Because if you look at an example like, what example? Oh, like what he said, essentially, about women not being allowed to bury, that's a lie, first of all. Women not leading the prayer, women can lead prayers, but not lead men. So there's a difference also between modesty and what Islam portrays, and then there's also culture. Culture plays a huge role. You can't compare Muslims of the US to Muslims of Kenya. But also if you look at, just as I conclude, but if you look at the difference on why this is so important to decry Islam as a terrorist organization. So when you speak about countering violence, countering terrorism, the first thing you're seeing is a terrorist sympathizer. So it's been used to label anyone who speaks truth to power, especially when it comes to Islam. But now, as we can see, the West is focusing more on xenophobia and the war against China than Islamophobia.
Right.
So just a correction.
Thank you so much for that information, and you've answered a bit of what Halima was actually supposed to answer, and so I am going to ask you, Halima, I know you have very fabulous stories, and there's actually another session that is supposed to start in the next 10 minutes, so we really need this room, and I am going to ask that we actually just end. So please end us with a powerful short answer to the questions that they've asked.
This is me protesting.
Okay.
The last person
let her respond first. Please let
It's less than 30 seconds, actually. For the first time, I really want to speak for just 30 seconds. To just say...
And if it's not 30 seconds, I'm actually
yes, definitely.
Okay.
To just say, first of all, I appreciate the panel, because most of the time when you speak about human rights defenders and activists, many people don't pay attention to what goes into the work. People just think when you see Mary Liz adorning her nice jacket and looking all cute, it's really sad in there when you're with yourself and doing the work. And so really to appreciate you guys, and to just say, I've seen when when I don't know what his name, the guy with amazing dyed hair and everything, one of the feminist values we have is when you get the mic, you only speak about your experiences. Do not take the mic and speak about Muslim people when you're not a Muslim, because then that jumbles up all information, and then we end up not knowing what to go with, and that is very important. Thank you.
That is empowerment right there. So
Thank
we
you.
are actually going to end this session with Halima's.
Thank you very much. A lot has been said by my brother. First, we need to differentiate between Islam and culture. Islam has placed a woman in the highest level. Islam has given a whole verse called Surah An-Nisa, meaning a verse for a woman. That is how Islam has valued a woman. And for my brothers, maybe you had misconception the ideology of media, the Western, but I want to say that a woman plays a very big role in decision making. The first person to become a Muslim after Muhammad was a woman. The first business woman was Khadija. If Khadija, who is the wife of the Prophet Muhammad, was doing business, that means Islam allowed women to own property. She was the most richest woman in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
And Islam came during ignorance time. There was Christianity, the prophet was Isa, Jesus was the prophet. Arabs could not believe neither Jesus or they were nowhere. So that is why Muhammad came to seal the whole nation. Because we had Adam, we have Abraham, we have Isaac, we have Noah, we have last Jesus, then came Muhammad. Because Arabs were more ignorant, they were not believing in Jesus. So God thought he need one unifying nation. That is why Islam came last as the last religion, and they have placed women at the highest level. This you are seeing, all this problem is culture. Okay. And Islam says, seek knowledge as far as China.
All right.
So that is why, Halima, I know my religion has placed me in a highest level, and I need to seek knowledge. I need to be more educated and serve the people. All these irregularities, all these injustices is because of the culture. Let's understand the religion, please.
All right, and I really hope Forum Civ has seen just how much this conversation has meant and how much time we needed. Right now I'm feeling pressured by Mwikali to really to really finish the session. So I am going to give her 30 seconds, Mwikali, to please finish the session.
Because I've really tried. For people who know me, I can talk and talk.
Yes.
Clarity first, point of information. We need to acknowledge where people feel they are okay, you see. And if they have information, they have chosen to go the other way, you need to respect that. Coming to your question about feminism, because it's important and that's the struggle we are fighting even in this country, where people are saying all the lesbians are feminists, all the feminists are lesbian. And they are all men haters, you see? Also, we need to acknowledge there are women who love men, there are women who love women, there are women who love both men and women, and it's okay. It's okay. If you think having marriage and getting 50 kids is your choice, it's fine. If I think I don't want to have kids, it's fine. If I think I don't want to be in a relationship, it's fine. Okay. So we need to acknowledge all women that are not homogeneous. And that's why you will see me, Mwikali, and many. Every demonstration, when you come, you have to look at it on a gender justice lens, on a feminist lens. Whereby if it's sex workers' rights, how does it interlink with extrajudicial killing? Because the reality is there are women who are getting killed in this country. Even by police, but people don't want to talk about it. And for those who are going to talk about it, we are being criminalized. Secondly, I was thinking when you were asking the questions, know the history of this country. Most of us, we don't know. We only read it in social studies and GXC, blah, 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 but it's too little. There are people who fought for this country and they're still alive. Can you please have a coffee with them or a chai? Or invite them into your space, they'll come. Because for us who have this information, it's the few of us that we have gone to an extent of reaching out to them and some reaching out to us. Right. That's why now you'll understand the politics within this country. Who owns who makes which decision. Because even as activists, we are being studied by the system, but us, we haven't taken time to study the system. We say we want revolution. Do you know what it costs to be a revolutionary? It needs discipline also. Yes. It needs to have a point. I have to protect Boni, even if it calls me just doing whatever I have to do. Women in this country, when they are fighting for this country, some even have to strip to protect their partners who are fighting, which we don't know. So please, there are a lot of books, there are a lot of people who are still alive, reach out to them, know about this country, know how the state works, know in terms of your own security. Now, when you call for a demo, we say we reach at power. Why don't you reach at power? We have to go to another location.
Okay, thank you.
That's why we can liberate ourselves and take up space, not to rubber stamp because they need a young person or they need a young woman.
We have heard. So I am going, as Javan says goodbye, I'm going to ask for Steve to come and just end the session for us.
Pussy power.
Nimeambiwa niseme pussy power. The only way nitawaacha is to teach you something small. Inaenda hivi. 7788991010. System iko drunk. Tunataka exchange na change juu tax zinatuchoka. Tuko pamoja?
Yes.
Yeah? Yes. 7788991010. System iko drunk. Tunataka exchange na change juu tax zinatuchoka. Tuko pamoja? Yes. Naweza wapea mic?
Unaweza tupe sasa tuendelee.
7788991010. System iko drunk. Tunataka exchange na change juu tax zinatu
choke. Awesome. Can you please give them a round of applause? That has been very, very... And you see, these stories actually matter. And that is why you would see, I would let people actually express themselves and tell their stories. Because we will not know where we are going if we do not know where we have come from. So our history matters so that our future is actually guided. Asante sana for MC for this, and I am going to ask you to now come and take over. And I am sorry for we took your time. Asanteni sana.
Thank you so much. I don't even know what to say. Very sobering discussions. Our time is so spent, but well spent. I think very sobering discussions. I wish we had a whole day to let you express yourselves, to let you speak out, because I remember from Monday we have been saying that we can't tell the stories. As much as Forum Civ, we sit in the office and write the reports and do 20 interviews with Mwikali and Javan and Halima and Boniface. If we don't get them to come and speak from the heart, we'll be doing an injustice. So I think what we are doing is just allowing you to come and speak from the heart. So keep up, young people. Thank you, Boniface. Augustine had to tell me that I looked like I wanted to cry when you were speaking, because I think when you began the session this morning, I understand you did a Kahoot. I play Kahoot with my kids, and nobody in this room was older than 41 years. So I'm proud to say I'm older than 41 years as I stand here. But I look 16, I'm young at heart, so I try to resonate with you guys. So I would have been the 1% that was much older in this room, but I'm happy to join you and be young at heart with you guys. So thank you for your story. Keep what you're doing. Thank you, Halima. Keep what you're doing. Thank you, Mwikali. Pussy power, I have to say that myself too. Thank you, Javan. And what do we learn from this? There's something that Mwikali said, and all of you as young people. Do what you can do within your space. Find it and do it very well. Boniface here has chosen peace, non-violence means of defending democracy. Njoki here works in the social justice movement. Halima here chose information. She realized that her community was missing basic information. She chose that. Mwikali here is a super feminist. Javan here, art, poetry, music. So find what you do in your little space and do it very well, because you're the only ones who can change tomorrow. Sisi tumeendelea kwenda, you know. And find mentors. Very good again. Find people, you know, the old ones, our conventional models might not work, but they will give you a place to start. So find people, whoever you think can mentor you, speak to them and allow them to give you the space to grow. That is all I can say. Very profound thank you. And for our audiences and viewers, thank you for following us. The discussion continues in the afternoon. The hashtag is defending democracy. So see you in our next session. Have a good afternoon.